Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of the Comic Book Chronicles. OBS is wigging out, so I'm really hoping this is not going to be a short stream. I am your host, Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at News Nerds Need on Twitter. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram.
With Columbia down the way.
And the sound effects you have just heard come from none other than our man in Brooklyn, one agent _70 on Twitter and Instagram.
What's up, everybody?
Yes. And this here is the Comic Book Chronicles, as has been said, and you can find this here podcast on the Cold Leather Podcast Network. That's cspn.us.
Do it today.
And you can also find this on your podcast personal place of choice, whether it be Google Play, Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Cold Leather Podcast pages Spotify page, SoundCloud page. Excuse me. You can find us recording every Thursday night, 9:30-ish p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the YouTube channel of The Click Nation and twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles.
Make sure to hit like and subscribe and smash that like button and the notification button.
Yeah. So yeah, folks, we are going to get into a recap. We're going to ring the spoiler barrel, rest assured, of the Book of Boba Fett, episode 7, the finale of the Book of Boba Fett.
Right. So we're going to be spoiling essentially the entirety of the Book of Boba Fett series, and probably involving spoilers of also of the deeper Star Wars canon and lore. So if you're not interested in being spoiled, of the spoiled as regards to the content of, at the very least, this series, the Book of Boba Fett, please fast forward or put your fingers in your ears and say la 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 for a little while after I ring the spoiler bell in 3, 2, 1. Spoilers incoming.
So yes, this episode is called In the Name of Honor. And like I said, it is the finale, although, well, I guess we'll get into that. So it starts off in Mos Espa, in the bombed out club of Garza Fwips. Boba Fett is there with Fennec Shand and Din Djarin, and he's like, "We're at war," and so this he basically was like, "Yeah, this started sooner than we thought it would, huh?" Mando's basically is like, yeah, Freetown's supposed to come here with some of his people. Of course, not knowing what happened to Cobb Vanth near the end of the last episode, where he got shot in the arm. So he doesn't know anything about it, and Boba's like, "You sure they're coming?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm sure." Again, not knowing what happened. Which hold that thought to later on, because that brings up a slight issue I had. Anyway, Boba is like, if they don't show, we got problems. Which, yeah, because they don't have that many people. They got the mods, which they're pretty much useless. They got Fennec Shand, who, she's good on her own, and you got Mando and Chrysanthemum, which,
Right.
on their own they're good, but they can take out a whole armies of people.
Right, and we have to remember, just as an aside, that what we have here are a group of specialists. Like this is like a special forces group, like essentially a Star Wars A team. And every once in a while, for those of you of a certain vintage who grew up watching the A-Team, the A-Team did in fact need the help of the people they had been hired to help themselves in order to overcome a force with superior numbers. And that is the case in this episode.
Right. I mean, you got basically two Mandalorians, an assassin, a Wookiee.
Right. There's your A-Team.
Yeah, you got a crew there, that can make some things happen. But like Agent 70 said, can't do it alone in certain cases.
Right. They could just be overwhelmed by superior numbers, and that's essentially what the Pike Syndicate hoped to do here.
And that kind of happens, but we'll get into that. So Boba says, "Hey, we can go back to the palace and hold up there." And then Drash is like, "No, we're staying here. You can run back to your palace if you want to." And then Boba's just kind of like, "Okay, we'll stay here." Because I guess either he figured, well, yeah, in order to get the respect of the people, he's got to make their stand there or something. We don't know, but he just kind of looked and was like, "Well, all right." And it was between Drash and the other dude who's thrashing trash. Actually, I can't remember the other dude's name. But regardless, the other dude that's usually with him was like, "No, we're staying here. This is our home." So, cut to Cad Bane meeting up with the Pikes syndicate, with the mayor, who we thought was off-world, but who apparently wasn't. The leader of the Pikes and a couple of other people.
The leader of the Pikes.
So basically, the Pike leader was like, Cad Bane comes in. The Pike leader was like, "You did your job," like, "Yeah," and then for some strange reason, which I thought was kind of crazy, silly, the Pike leader pretty much lets it be known that it was not the biker gang that was originally thought that took out the Gungans. I mean, excuse me, the Gungans, Lord. The Tuskens.
We wish it was the Gungans. Oh no.
The Tuskens.
Oh no.
But I feel like some kind of way, shape, or form, we kind of knew the Pikes were behind us. I feel like we even said as much. It was just like, that's kind of weird for the Biker King, especially when the fact that, the Pikes pretty much got attacked by those Tuskens early on in the season. So we kind of figured.
I mean, at the same time, though, I kind of thought that the Pikes had hired the biker gang. So
sure.
Ultimately, what the ruse was that they had passed the blame onto the biker gang. But at least in my line of thinking, I thought it was just as simple for the Pikes to hire the biker gang to take them out, just so that they wouldn't have to get their hands dirty. But it turns out that they don't mind getting their hands dirty to a certain extent.
Right, but also putting on somebody else is not outside of their moves either. So we find that out. Cad Bane knows this, but apparently Boba Fett doesn't yet. So Cad Bane kind of takes this information, like, we know if you've known Cad Bane, he is not one to let some stuff just slide. So so you kind of figure it's like, yeah, that was the dumbest thing to do, to tell him that. And sure enough, that ends up happening. That ends up being a problem. So then we cut to an X-Wing approaching Mos Espa. I'm not gonna lie, I thought it was Luke.
Same here.
So but the X-Wing just so happens to go into Peli Motto's hangar. And she starts scrambling around like she's got contraband, and was like, no, get rid of stuff, get rid of this, get rid of it, because she thought it was the New Republic officers, and not the familiar character we would know from in an X-Wing.
Right. She thought that Appa was gonna be in the X-Wing, and he was gonna say, "Stop."
Nice. So you just don't know how happy I am to know that he's watched Kim's Convenience all the way through. But yes, and the reason why we figured we thought it was Luke also was because we see, when the shot comes in, we see R2 in the astromech pit in the back of it. So you kind of figure. But it comes down to it's not him. It's R2 basically chauffeuring one baby Grogu, aka Grogu, Baby Yoda, excuse me, aka Grogu, back to the Mandalorian, which basically means that the choice he made was the ball and not the sword. Although Agent 70 said before the show, like we don't know whether he didn't take the sword. I'm still kind of convinced that they probably would have shown it if he had, but he's kind of right to where they did not show that. So, or where they did not, pull that out. But there's another reason. But there's something else we'll get to later about on that point. Also, anyway, I like how this article was like, Baby Yoda chose wisely. So yeah, so at this point, like I said, Pele's like, Pele finds out Grogu's name, and she was like, "Well, I'm not gonna call you that." And of course, we all know why that was the case, because fans don't like Grogu's name.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's some meta commentary right there in the in the writing of this particular episode.
Totally. So then we cut to what ends up being, well, I guess Boba and crew staging their front, but apparently the battle came to them early, as we will find out, because the Mods were pretty much Boba had people in different places. So the Mods were in one place, Chrysanthemum was in one place, and the Gamorrean guards, which that's a whole nother problem I had. We'll get to that too. Are at the spaceport. So people were in positions, but we will find out what happens to them in a minute. Boba's basically says, Boba's back at the sanctuary and was like, hey, we're good here. Nobody can sneak up on us. And sure enough, Cad Bane does indeed sneak up on them, as the protocol droid tells them, like, hey, somebody's outside to see you. And like I said, we see is Cad Bane, who comes with a message. And this is when Cad Bane tells Boba, basically comes with a message saying, hey, leave and everything will be cool. And then tells Boba that it was the Pike Syndicate that took out the Tuskens. Which obviously, makes Boba kind of feel some things. And he starts to he's ready to go. And apparently Fennec Shand could sense this. It was like, nope, we're going to do this on our turn. And Cad Bane was like, let's do this. Let's just go ahead and do this.
Yeah, he's definitely egging Boba Fett on in this sequence, because he knows that this is an opportunity that he can try to exploit if Boba Fett is acting irrationally because of intense emotions. So
exactly. And not only that, because he knows Boba, he's known Boba for quite a while because of Clone Wars. In fact, I totally forgot about that, because there was so I was watching a video and they said like, yeah, there was an actual unfinished show that was never aired, where Cad Bane was supposed to, I don't know what that is, was supposed to mentor Boba, a young Boba, but that never got finished. But some stuff is out there on that, apparently.
Wow, that was a long one.
I know, right? So folks, if you're hearing strange noise on the audio, we don't know what that is. It's a weird shingle.
Yeah, we apologize profusely for that, because it just started tonight and it's just very weird.
Yeah.
So we've double checked all of our connections, so it's definitely odd. Right. But all right, so where are you?
So Cad Bane and Boba showdown. Fennec's trying to talk Boba down because she don't want him doing anything rash. But then Cad Bane leaves after unsuccessfully provoking Boba, even though Boba was kind of ready to go too. But then he goes back inside, and then that's when we found out it's a trap.
Oh no, that's correct. It is, and I need to get my my particular sound for that up, because at this point, all of Boba Fett's best laid plans have all gone to poop, because it seems like the Pike Syndicate has decided to start the party a little early. So at this point, Boba Fett hears on the communications that the teams that were mentioned earlier by Roddykat are all being jumped. The Bug Boys are attacking the Mod Squad.
That's
Lizards,
Trandoshans.
the Trandoshans are after Black Chrysanthemum, and unfortunately, there are some dudes who are literally pushing Gamorrean guards off the two Gamorrean guards off a cliff.
So stupid.
It was awful.
Yeah. Anyway, like I said, we'll get into why that's so
It
stupid.
was awful.
Still, yeah.
Right. Well, Fennec at least jumps in to save the Mod Squad.
Right. So you know what? Let's go ahead and get into it. Right. So Boba's like, "Yo, we need to take out?" Well, Fennec was like, "We need to take out control operations," and then the other dude, that's the major domo, was like, "Well, I know where they're where they're holding out." So he finally tells them. Fennec was like, "Phew, she's out there. She's out." She does end up saving the mods on her way to the place. Unfortunately, the Gamorrean guards get pushed off a goddamn cliff, like bitches. I'm sitting here like, they
didn't even go out fighting. They just got pushed backwards.
Just got pushed back. Now, granted, we didn't see the bodies hit the floor. They landed
no.
on the.
I don't have a sound clip of that song.
That's fine. It wasn't worth it. That's fine. But all we heard was a kind of a Wilhelm type scream and them falling. But maybe they made it. I doubt it very seriously. But maybe they made it. Then maybe there was like something caught them like a net or something. We don't know. But regardless, I thought that was so stupid. Like, we know they could fight. We seen them fight in the first episode. They could have fought back. It was only like 4 or 5 of them against 2 of them. Anyway, regardless, so back at the ranch or the sanctuary.
Sanctuary.
Yes.
Right. So at the sanctuary, Boba Fett and the Mandalorian are kind of discussing what their plan is, and Boba Fett says, "Hey, I don't blame you if you want to bounce at this point." And Mando says it's against the creed, essentially saying that is not the way. Boba Fett doesn't exactly agree with this, and that he says that they'll most likely die when the Pikes come back. And Mando replies, "We'll both die in the name of honor." And Pike,
Mando's a real G. He's trying to go out like Butch and Sundance. It was like, "Boom, I'm with you to the end, motherfucker."
Right, exactly. To the end, you know. So the Pike Syndicate comes back, and the major domo, the mayor's major domo, says that he's going to try to come out and negotiate on behalf of Boba and Mando, and in a way where they might have to grovel their way out, but at least they'll be able to get out.
Right.
And
hold on, not before him saying where he studied at Coruscant and talked about his accent, his Twilight accent not being, and still kind of sort of being there, because that is a point that has come up in Clone Wars before, in Clone Wars and Rebirth.
Oh, you mean they're all sort of French?
Or English or something. Yes, they have some sort of dialect, but they lose it when they're off world. We've seen it with Hera, and other folks.
They sounded French to me.
Yeah, so. I mean, yeah. But also they also have a language to where they, they don't, they speak on Ryloth or whatever the case may be. So he kind of took note of that and was like, and then got sent out. Which I was laughing because of the fact that when he actually went out there and gave the demands, Boba was like, all right, give me the tablet. I'll give you my demands, which apparently he didn't read before he went out there to them. And so the major domo went out there and started reading his demands and got to the point to where it got to the point. And it was like, I do, and I will give nothing. Which apparently, some folks have noted, is a callback to like Godfather. Imperator does a couple of Godfather references in this episode, not outside of that bombing from last one. But anyway, and then Boba and Mando use this opportunity to realize they have jetpacks and start the fight.
Yeah, it's about time. It really was. At this point, I was like, oh yeah,
yes,
they do have those jetpacks now. Before we move on, I wanted to mention that obviously live action is different from animation in many regards. Chiefly among those, though, with respect to these Mandalorian jetpacks, is that we have seen these jetpacks have very different capabilities. In the Clone Wars, in Rebels, we've seen these jetpacks be able to, carry Mandalorians for very long periods of time and maintain some air superiority. In this case, I thought they landed way too soon. They could have been zipping around, but for a while, taking out people, left and right and underneath. But they decided to land and take a position that was very much contrary to what Obi-Wan tells Anakin.
The high ground.
And so it's just kind of unnerving and just unsettling to think that they have this advantage and they just don't use it, and it's probably because of budgetary constraints that do not exist in animation.
Yeah, and not only that, because the only time we've seen Boba Fett with his the only other time we've seen Boba Fett use his jetpack was him getting face planted into the Sarlacc pit and using it as a big jump.
Right.
Outside of
right. Because it gets activated by accident when Han knocks into him or something, if I recall, on the barge.
But and everything. But yes, everything you said was on the money. Like we've seen it a little bit more in the Mandalorian than not. But yeah, that was ridiculous. And not only that, when they landed, took a bunch of shots and started taking the people started taking pot shots at them. That would have been the time to be like, all right, we need to take back to the air and move around, not stay in one place and act like Butch and Sundance.
Right. Well, at this point, Mando and Boba Fett are displaying all the different weapons that they have at their disposal on their Mandalorian armors, their respective Mandalorian armors. Yep. And while that's cool, it's great, it's like, oh, here's a knee shot, here's an ankle shot, here's an elbow shot, here's a wrist shot. But at the same time, I'm sorry?
No, I was saying we finally get the knee rockets.
Right. But at the same time, they're each taking massive hits on their Beskar armor. And you're just thinking, so you're not just going to stand there taking these shots?
Right.
Even if you have Kevlar, you don't stand there taking the shots? So, part of me is just like, what's going on here?
Right.
So, at the end of the day, they're getting slowly but surely pummeled, because that's essentially what it is. These laser bolts are not penetrating, but they're essentially suffering from the kinetic energy that these bolts are delivering, that the armor is only partially absorbing. While the armor is definitely absorbing some, we're not talking about a steel vibranium alloy here like Captain America, right? Like Captain America's shield. It's a little bit different. So they are feeling every hit that they're absorbing. Right. So at this point, a form of the cavalry arrives. Right. Because it won't be the first time in this episode, by the way. True. Because what we see is a speeder, a larger speeder, with a group of townspeople from Freetown, aka Mos Pelgo. Right. So they arrive because they say, well, how could they not? Especially because they're looking to take revenge on the Pikes for for what happened to Cobb Vanth at the end of the previous episode.
And
so the townspeople jump in.
I need people to remember that, because I have a nitpick about that at the end of this.
Right. So ultimately they're looking to take revenge upon the Pikes for what happened to Cobb Vanth. We're left to assume at this point that Cobb Vanth is very much dead, and despite what we actually saw on screen,
which is making sense.
Well, I mean, Roddykat can just continue to interrupt me because, at the end of the day, we'll get to how that part of the story wraps itself. But continuing on, the townspeople basically use their large speeder as cover to to shelter Boba Fett and the Mandalorian. Meanwhile, the mods are able to retreat from their position after having been saved by Fennec, and they also take cover behind the speeder. And we also have Black Chrysanthemum making his way back very slowly but surely after having fought off the mass of Trandoshans who were after him, and basically they all take cover behind the speeder. But then we have a flashback.
Hold on. I do have to interrupt you on this part because I want to. That's another thing that bothered me, because when Chrysanthemum was limping his ass down the street, he was still taking out folks as he was limping. Nobody was helping him until he fell. I'm sitting here like, okay, he's coming down the street. They see him coming down the street. Nobody's giving him cover, but he's still like bloop bloop, while he's limping his way out. And it was only until he got like 2 feet away from the speeder that's when somebody decided to roll out and help him.
Right. I mean, it's you're in the middle of a firefight, so it's a little difficult to figure out who, cover who would be the person to go out there, blah blah blah. I'm not going to argue. I definitely agree with you on that, because I definitely noticed that too. It's like, wait, what are they waiting for? Go out and get them.
Right.
But here at this point, everyone's taking cover behind the speeder, the overly large speeder. But then we have a flashback to a scene from the very first prequel movie, because it's not Obi-Wan and his master Qui-Gon, but it is this ragtag group of Tatooine defenders who run into droids. When I didn't realize that they were called Scorpionic droids. I didn't either. But I think they use that in. I want to say they use that in the subtitles. I may have seen it, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah. So from what I understand, this is the first time those droids have been seen in live action, and they come from the Droid Encyclopedia.
Okay. All right.
But they're basically basically upgraded droid deckers.
Right. I mean, I don't remember the names, but at the end of the day, these strongly resemble the basic gist of the droids that I was referencing from episode 1. Mm-hmm. In that they have twin arms with laser cannons mounted on them, as well as force shields.
Yeah, they're basically tank busters from what I understand.
Say again?
They're basically tank busters from what I understand.
Okay. But ultimately, that's the defining characteristic, is that they have force fields that the blasters wielded by the Tatooine defenders are unable to penetrate. Mm-hmm. So that makes things very tough on our band of misfit heroes. Boba Fett launches his one missile, and that doesn't work. The Mandalorian even tries to use the Darksaber, no luck in getting through that force field. So at this point, they all have to scatter and try to get away from the Scorpionics, because the Scorpionics are about to overrun their position. In the chase, who shows up but Pelimato? I forgot the actress's name.
Amy Sedaris. No, it's
not Amy Sedaris.
Okay.
I think that is. I think it's Amy Sedaris.
Okay.
So Amy Sedaris shows up on a rickshaw, and who does she have in tow with her? None other than Grogu, of course. And Mando is elated. Grogu literally does a little mini force jump into his arms, and we get a nice little reunion here, and it's heartwarming and whatnot. But it's something that has to wait, because the Scorpionic is about to mow them down. They do the Scorpionic droid does in fact take out the rickshaw that they're on, But then, and I'm going to hand it off to Roddykat here.
So then, in what honestly, so the part of this was one, Boba told Mando to look after folks while he goes get some reinforcements, and Mando kind of reminded him, was like, well, you don't have any friends left. But come to find out, there was one other person. There was one other thing that was left, and that was,
right, and it was something that was teased early on in this show that did actually pay off in the last episode of the series.
Yep, and here comes Boba Fett riding a Rancor, basically, on top of a building to save to save the day. So, he and the Rancor pretty much make short-ish work of one of the droids. Even going so far as with a little help from Mando, of course, because like the Rancor kind of brought the shields down to a point to where Mando could get through, which brings me to a real quick point. Back in the Clone Wars, they figured out how to get past the droid shield, and I'm sitting here like, how in the world did this knowledge did not get passed along? Because we seen Ahsoka just roll a detonator, a thermal detonator through the shields and blow them up. This was not passed on. Nevertheless, we got a cool fight scene with a droid and Rancor. Even Boba Fett was like, "Do it," when the Rancor just ripped him in half before going to help the others who was trapped by the other droid. So yeah, Boba Fett riding a droid, which I guess I totally forgot about. Honestly, was a thing. I'll be honest. So yeah, Baby Yoda also helps by pulling out a bolt. And yeah, so everybody kind of does a little bit of something. And then they go take out the other droid, and then Cad Bane kind of comes along and stares down Boba and the Rancor, and shoots it with a flamethrower, bastard. Because apparently Rancors are scared of fire. So Boba gets thrown off of the Rancor and is on the ground, and Cad Bane and Boba have their showdown. We already know who won that fight, but not with that. Well, we the initial fight, I should say, because obviously Cad Bane, fastest gun in the West, or the West Tatooine. But he and Boba kind of have a little chat before that happens, and then Boba ends up taking him down with his gaffy stick and spears him in the chest. We don't know if he's alive or dead. I'm going to assume he's still alive because it's Cad Bane, and he's done. I doubt if he's going to die that quickly.
Right. That's really what and just just a little bit a moment to interject here. Many of these characters take a whole ton of damage. Black Chrysanthemum among them, and it seems like this would be a fatal blow, but knowing these characters, they generally do take a lot of damage. So it seems like that is not something that would prove to be the ultimate fate of Cad Bane. A lot of people, my understanding is that a lot of people complained online about about how Cad Bane went out, but ultimately we're not sure if this is in fact the last time we're going to see the character. Right. Carry on.
Yeah, I don't know. People are making notes to the thing he got on his chest or whatever. Not, but I seriously don't think that Cad Bane is done being by one stick in the chest. I suspect not. So yeah, so the droids are done. Cad Bane is down. My rematch with Cad Bane and Fennec Shand doesn't happen, but we do get to see. Oh wait, no, because this is when we go to the Rancor that was running wild. I forgot about that part. So yeah,
right.
The droids are destroyed. The Rancor is kind of running rampant around the city until it gets to a certain point. With Mando and Baby Yoda and them. Mando's like, hold on, stay here. I'll take care of this. He tries to ride the Rancor, gets thrown off and gets taken out. Well, not taken down, but taken down. kind of real
Right.
quickly.
Right. Pause right here just for a second. There are a couple of interesting callbacks and references during this entire sequence, including to King Kong of all things, because the Rancor climbs up a small tower in the middle of Mos Espa, and it is very, very, very reminiscent of the original King Kong climbing up the Empire State Building. And even Mando saying, "You're scaring it. You're scaring it," because the mods are trying to shoot, and some of the Freetown soldiers are shooting at the Rancor because they're scared. They just don't get it. They don't understand that it is on their side. It's supposed to be on their side. So it is very much a callback to King Kong and one of the original movie monsters. Carry on.
So yeah, so after that, the Rancor kind of comes down and kind of comes at everybody, but Baby Yoda swoops in and puts him to sleep with the Force, and very adorably curls up right next to him and goes to sleep himself because he got tuckered out using the Force, all with the Force was being used. It was very cute, as it's supposed to be. So then we cut back to Mos Eisley, where the leader of the Pike Syndicate and folks are holed up. But then we see everybody in there gets taken out by Fennec Shand, including the mayor gets strangled, gets strung up and strangled, and the leader of the Pike Syndicate gets stabbed in the back because we know Fennec Shand is a rogue now. If you know your D&D, you know why that's the thing.
Yeah, she's an assassin, tried and true.
Sure. So she takes all of them out and then just dips out the building. And then that's pretty much it. We get, well, I guess after this it kind of cuts to the aftermath, because we see Boba and Fennec Shand walking down the street. Now, there was one part I forgot to mention. Boba had said that and this is going to come into something in a second, but Boba told Chrysanthemum, was like, yeah, you could take a nice long dip in the bacta tank for what you've done, basically. But but at this point we still see him kind of hurt, so we don't know if that's going to actually happen. So yeah, we see Fennec and Boba walking down the street. And people are kind of waving at him and thanking him for what he's done, because I guess this is not that long after that. The maroon fruit kind of comes back up as somebody comes and gives him one, and he's still hurt because he was even saying, like, why is everybody use their right, because I guess he got hurt on his right side. And Fennec makes a crack about how you should go back to the bacta tank, and he says somebody's using it. So me thinking it's Chrysanthemum, but we see right after this when they meet back up with the mods and Chrysanthemum, and apparently that little rabbit droid, Pelimot, and a couple of I think everybody but Mando and Grogu, I think, is pretty much kind of gathered around talking. And I don't know if did you notice it in this part. Did Chrysanthemum look like he had lost his right hand or something? Because he caught the fruit with his left hand, but it looked like his right arm wasn't new. Obviously, he was hurt because of everything he went through. Right. But I thought it, because the shot made it look like he had lost his hand or something, and it could have been just I was
about to say, I didn't look that carefully at it, so I'm gonna have to go back and take a look.
It looked weird for me. I was, like I said, I know he was hurt, but the way they had the way they were looking at it, the view of the shot looked like he had lost his hand or something. It was like weird to me, but and it wasn't moving, but still, regardless. Anyway, so I believe this is also when basically Boba's like, I'm too old for this shit.
And
while he and Fennec was talking, they were talking about, well, somebody should run this place, because we shouldn't do this. And that's where I got the he's getting too old for this shit. And Fennec was like, well, if not who. But we never find that out before the credits run. But we do get, like I said, an end, except for the last shot we see, excuse me, is the Mandalorian and Grogu out in space in the Naboo fighter, and Grogu's like tapping on the thing with the ball and wanting Mando to hit the nos, which he finally relents to, and they go speeding off to.
Right, we're left to guess at what Baby Yoda is trying, or what Grogu wants.
Oh no!
Right, we're left to guess. No, we're left to guess with what he wants. As he's tapping, he's like, no. He's like, no. It's like, what could he want from that cockpit? Right, from the droid pit. Right.
Sure.
What could he want? And then you see Mando manipulate the controls for that jump that had been also teased. So we also get that payoff from that earlier scene in the episode, in the series.
Right, which we've seen him hit the nos before, so it's not the first time. But yeah, so Grogu wanted to hit the nos one more time, because apparently he had done it for already once, and that's when it ends until we get to the mid-credit scene. And this is what I have a slight issue with also, but credits roll, and then we get to the chamber with the bacta tank, and we get a slow pan into it, and we see who's in it. And we see Thundercats right there, who plays which, hey, by the way, I got a Thundercat shirt on. Anyway, if you're watching the video, you can see that. We see who's in the tank, and it's Cobb Vanth.
Right. So we are not going to lose whatchamacallit, Cobb Vanth with the cool hair.
Right.
Because he is in the bacta tank. So he will be returning in this Mando corner of the Star Wars universe.
I was thinking they were trying to set him up for his own show or something. I'm like, does he deserve that, really?
No, but definitely just to retain him as a recurring character, I think.
Sure. Right. So, and also because of the fact that Thundercat was there, meaning he's also getting modded. So
right.
Presumably he's probably going to get a new arm or some sort of cybernetic for his arm when he gets out of the tank. Now, here's what else. Now, this is just me thinking this in passing, and this is where I have a slight problem with this episode. So we mentioned the fact that Boba said that somebody needed to run this place. I'm kind of wondering if they're setting it up to where Cobb is going to be the one to run the place. And I'm sitting here like, I don't know if that was deserved, if that's what they're setting up. Like, yes, his people had helped decide the tide of battle, granted. But if it wasn't for him to getting shot in the first place, they wouldn't have been there. They probably wouldn't have been there.
I mean, it's an interesting theory because, we can see how that could make sense, but at the same time, we definitely see in this episode, more so than we have in the past, the ongoing conflict, rivalry between the city dwellers and the country folk, which is very much, a very realistic thing. And I don't know if that is something that Cobb Vanth, the country marshal, wants to do, is get involved with the city life and the city dwellers. So at least from that perspective, I don't see that happening, but that's definitely a valid thought. I don't blame you for having that as a working theory moving forward.
Right. And yes, I thought about that also, because he probably wouldn't, because his little corner of Tatooine, he's probably cool with just dealing with that part. So yeah, I also thought about that, but it was like, it seemed kind of weird that they were seen to be mentioning the fact that, well, somebody needs to run this place. So, and we don't know what's going to happen with Boba and Fennec, because it sounds like they may or may not stay around. We don't know. We don't even know if the show is getting another season or not. Probably not. But we don't know. There's some news on that later on, by the way, or not on that, but there's some news regarding something later on. So yeah. Overall, I don't know. So the reason as Agent 77 I was interrupting so much, I had a lot of thoughts about this particular episode. Like, it had some definitely good spots in it. Like that, the last half of it was pretty good up to a point. Obviously, I had some issues with a couple of things that happened, boy, I wish a couple of other things would have happened in lieu of what did actually happen with some characters, you know. But it ended, and we're kind of wherever we are with this. Like some people are saying like, yeah, we're back to square one. Like, I don't know where we are. That doesn't, that ending doesn't necessarily mean anything outside of the fact that we know Mandalorian season 3 coming. But that's a whole nother thing outside of what's going on with Boba and Fennec.
Right. We may not know exactly whether or not there's going to be a season 2 of Book of Boba Fett until Fennec and until Mandalorian season 3 actually proceeds.
Sure.
That I think makes some sense.
You like they'll show up there,
and
then kind of tease something. They're going, yeah, that's very possible, very likely. So yeah, we'll see on that. But like I said, at this point, we don't know anything because there have been a couple of times where we have known whether a show has gotten another season by the time it ends in a couple of cases. So otherwise, that's that. Book of Boba Fett is wrapped. We have no more of that. We don't have any other Mandalorian material until season 3 of that show happens sometime later this year. Actually, it might not even be that terribly long, but we don't. I don't think I've ever seen a date at this point.
Right, and because we're going to be getting in the meantime, we have an announcement that I think is in the news
about
for the next Star Wars series that's about to drop.
Yes, we do have that.
Okay. All right. So that covers the Book of Boba Fett series and our review of episode 7. We're just going to touch on very quickly on episode 7 of the Peacemaker series that is on HBO Max. Again, spoiler alert. I'm going to ring the bell here because if you don't want to be spoiled, even just a little bit, with regards to Peacemaker, definitely tune out or fast forward. So here we go in 3, 2, 1. Spoilers for Peacemaker incoming. So we get an interesting turn of events with regards to several characters in this episode. We get some final resolution when it comes to some characters, for good and for bad. I will say that the White Dragon character has a pretty good amount of technology, despite the fact that a weakness in his getup, his suit, is exploited during the episode as well.
Yes.
Right. So, but at the same time, you're like, well, that's an impressive level of technology that this guy is putting together. I mean, it's definitely a pretty advanced level of technology when it comes to the folded dimensional, the pocket dimension that that his workshop is in. That's obviously very, very advanced, very cutting edge. So helmets. It's no surprise. I'm sorry?
Peacemaker's helmets.
Right. But it's no surprise that he's able to put together a super budget Iron Man type suit for himself.
Which that was the thing with that whole suit thing was like kind of weird to me because so just like MCU Iron Man, he can fly in the suit, but he's flying using the thrusters are coming out of his hands, I guess, almost like and also his feet. But if you look at the back of the suit, which they'd only shown probably like once, I think, it looks like there was a space where a jetpack could have been. Like there was enough of a notch that it could have been a jetpack. So I'm sitting here like, well, why you couldn't do that as opposed to having it coming out of your hand? That was my nitpick on it. I don't know anything about that. From what I understand, that's supposed to be a comic accurate suit. Like I don't know anything about that character though.
Right.
But yeah. So like, as I just said, yeah, there's some finality to a couple of characters. This is the penultimate episode, so it's leading up to the last episode and to where all opposing parties will meet in a certain place at a certain time, or not at a certain time.
Right. And with a goal to accomplish.
Right.
And that goal is definitely set before us and before the heroes of this particular journey in this episode. So The group is left to retreat, but at the same time reassess and reaffirm their commitment to what they're doing. And once they are ready to roll, they do in fact get to very much the brink of starting their mission, and that is where this episode ends. So, as Roddykat said, this being the penultimate episode setting up the finale, we are right on the brink of getting to the big confrontation between the opposing forces, the butterflies, as it were, and Peacemaker and his little merry band of idiots. So it is. I've had a decent time watching this. I wanted to mention that this was the first episode of all of the episodes here where the music that starts the episode or the music that is incorporated into the episode is a song I actually recognized. It's a Motley Crue song. There are a ton of these hair and glam metal rock songs that James Gunn has put into these episodes, into the series, that I just do not recognize, having not grown up as a fan of that genre of music. But this was, in fact, something I recognized. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I actually recognize that one. So, that was a nice little Easter egg for me, as well as a drawing. We also get a big reveal into Peacemaker's origin in this episode. It happens right at the beginning of the episode as well. So,
which they kind of teased in the last couple of episodes, but yeah, we finally get the whole thing on that
reveal. Right. We get that reveal, and it's pretty jarring. It's pretty it's definitely not something that's easy on the eyes.
Yeah, true. I find it funny they did kind of brush over one part. It was kind of, cause there was like a couple of loose ends, or at least one particular loose end with the group that just kind of gets brushed over with the identity of one of the group, or the true identity of one of the group. And it was like, well, hey, this is the thing. Did you know? Yeah, I knew. Of course I knew. And then someone else gets set up as in a newer position. Before the rest of the episode goes. So yeah, like I said, we're all leading to going headlong into the last episode next week.
Right, and it'll be the first time we don't have a competing. We don't have a competing show to talk about, so we'll have just the finale to Peacemaker to talk about next week.
Yeah, there it is, and we already know that show's getting a season 2, so there is that. That being said, we can move on to the books of the week.
That we will.
And we're going to start off with Avengers number 53.
Alrighty, Avengers number 53. This book is written by Jason Aaron, with art by Juan Frigeri, colors are by David Curiel, and letters are by VC's Corey Pettit. So, just a minor spoiler to this issue. The cover does, in fact, portray something akin to what happens in the issue, but not exactly what happens in the issue. So it's one of those. Yeah. So it's an interesting twist on on a cover, kind of teasing what we get in the issue. But in this issue, we have a little bit of insight into one of the multiversal masters of evil right at the beginning of the issue. It's pretty jarring to see, but quickly we move on into something happening to the Avengers base that we have seen happen. Let's say we've seen it happen before in a different way and to different locations, and it's not that big a surprise. It's gotten to the point where it's kind of a trope in the pages of the Avengers comics.
Right, in a similar situation, or with a similar situation, I should say.
Right, at the hands of similar group at the hands of a similar group of villains.
Mm-hmm.
We also get, as I mentioned earlier, the characters on the cover are not necessarily traditional members of the Avengers, one more so than the other.
Right.
But in this issue, they are basically conscripted into the ranks of the Avengers, and we have them take on this group of multiversal masters of evil. The Doctor Doom variant that we're dealing with here actually calls back to a very specific storyline during the Mark Waid and Mike Wieringo, rest in peace, shout out to Mike Wieringo, run on the Fantastic Four, where he's wearing the skin of someone and he's devoted himself more to magic.
You know, I didn't pick up on that. I was thinking more along the lines of the animated What If series, to where it was basically evil. He was basically evil Doctor Strange.
Oh, no. This is actually this is actually an adaptation of a 616 story, but where, it's a variant where this Doom takes it even further.
Sure. Gotcha. Okay. I kind of wondered, because of the way they described it, but okay, now that makes sense. Now that you say that, because like I said, I wasn't even thinking anything like that.
I mean, those are some great Fantastic Four issues. After the show, I'll make sure to, well, maybe we'll put in the show notes, sure, and we'll put in the issue numbers, because I'll just have to take a dive into Marvel Unlimited. That's not a plug, but I'll take a dive into Marvel Unlimited and see what those issue numbers are, because those were some phenomenal issues from Mark Waid and Mike Wieringo. Cool. But getting back to this issue,
section.
I'm sorry?
I said, no, I'm telling the folks that will be in the clickbait section.
Sure. Getting back to this issue, the Black Panther seemingly has contingency plans for many things, and he puts one of them into effect in his attempt to go to stand up to this version of Doctor Doom. And ultimately, what we have in this issue is something catastrophic happening, and I'm not going to go beyond that, but ultimately that is the cliffhanger that we end this issue on. Do you have anything to add?
No, you pretty much said it. Actually, that last scene kind of reminded me of oh shoot, what was the movie? Oh no, it kind of reminded me of a Star Trek movie, Star Trek 2 actually. Near the end, where well, not that part, but basically when they're on the ship, where his crew is on the ship, and it was like, there's nobody on the bridge, but we keep hearing this noise, and then he was like, get out now, and then thing happens. If you've seen the movie, you know what happens. So
right.
So it kind of reminded me of that a little bit.
It's actually reminiscent of this past week's episode of Demon Slayer.
That too.
It actually does. It actually does kind of harken back to that, and we'll talk about that when we get to Anime Corner.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, so that's Avengers 53 though. I guess we'll go to. Let's talk about Amazing Spider-Man 88 Bay.
Oh, Amazing Spider-Man number 88 Beyonce is written by Jeffrey Thorne, with art by both Jan Bazaldua and Jim Toe. Colors are by Jim Campbell, and letters are by our very favorite lettering paisan, VC's Joe Caramagna. So what these Beyonce issues are, when it comes to the numbering scheme for these Amazing Spider-Man issues, are kind of interstitial interludes, as it were, in between stories that don't necessarily fall into these storytelling sequence and order of the main story, and that is very much true in this issue because we have uh, a flashback at the very beginning of this issue to King in Black, but we in this issue catch up with one Hobie Brown and what he's been up to since he gave up the Prowler identity.
Mm-hmm.
And we find out, and this is another instance where the cover actually does, in fact, describe some of what happens in this issue. What we get is a reunion of sorts or reconstitution of sorts of the Slingers. And if you're not familiar with the Slingers, these are costumed identities that, from my recollection at least, forgive me for getting this partially wrong because I wasn't following Amazing Spider-Man that or the Spider-Man titles that closely when these characters were introduced. I only have some of these issues in my collection, but these were alternate costumed identities that Peter Parker had taken on and essentially assigned them to other people afterwards so that the heroic identities would not be, would not lay fallow and giving other people a chance to be heroes. So in this issue, we get basically a new Hornet, and it's kind of ironic that the new Hornet is someone who's black because it definitely reminds me of
Yes,
the Brown Hornet
Mhm.
from Fat Albert cartoons.
Yep, I thought that exact same thing. So I'm glad you were there on that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we also get was it Ricochet and Dusk?
Mm-hmm.
And and we basically get the reunion, the reformation of the Slingers here. But I think this issue really served to establish Hobie Brown's new identity.
Right. So okay. What'd you say?
No, I said, go ahead. What do you think?
Oh, so I enjoyed this issue because normally these tie-in issues are fluff and kind of not worth really reading a lot of times. I can't sit here and say that this one would be normally, but I enjoyed it because we see Hobie Brown, like in his new identity. Well, I think I thought he had the Hornet before, well, previously to this, but not like or get after those. I don't know. Regardless, I don't know. Hobie Brown's has had a couple of identities at this point, but he's trying something new. They're kind of doing them like they did like Thunderball did in like the Coats did with Thunderball and Black Panther. They're basically kind of saying like, hey, look, this dude's smart. Since he's not necessarily he's been bad before, but he has the propensity to be a good guy, and he's trying to do things for the right reason, seemingly. And this is kind of setting that up to be the case for Hobie Brown in this case. Because we see at the beginning of this, like, yeah, he's almost, or feels like almost Stark level smart. I'm going to say he's not like all the way there, but still, he's got enough smarts to really, apparently he's got enough tech smarts to be able to do his thing. Almost above those levels. So they set that up, and then they put him with these other two. Which now that I think about, aren't there supposed to be like Force Lingers, or weren't there Force Lingers? I don't remember because I never watched.
I think there were four. There were four because there's one with a cape.
Right, because you know more about them than I do. Because I'm pretty sure I was not reading Spidey around that time of these folks.
There was one with the cape, so that character may have may have died.
Mm.
And I think these are the three that remain.
Okay. Well, I think they said in here that the Hornet before Hobie had died. Definitely. So I don't know if that other one also died.
Right. No, he had like kind of Captain America style, like metal wings on his mask, and I think his primary color was yellow. I'll have to take a look at that. I'm gonna go to the Googles while you continue.
So yeah, so that sets him up and sets Hobie up to basically how he gets involved with this whole why this becomes a Beyond tie-in is because the company that apparently he owned, which is basically kind of like it's a crowdfunding site, and he had big plans to do something with at the beginning of this book, got bought out by Beyond, and he and his whole staff got bought out by Beyond, but his very insightful girlfriend was like, don't you think you should wonder why Beyond would do such a big payout to everybody and see what's going on? So that kind of sets him into snooping into what Beyond's doing, and we know in a way. Well, we don't know why Beyond bought his company, but we know Beyond is kind of doing some stuff on the superhero front on both ends. That kind of makes this make a little bit of sense as to why this needs to be looked into, because they're kind of almost going into the damage control part of it also. End of it, but not so much. But again, we don't know the full end of this, and we may or may not, because we don't know. Because as far as I know, this is a one shot. We don't know if we're going to see these. Where we're going to see these folks again. More likely, they're probably going to show up in Amazing, the main book, in one shape or form. I assume by the time this whole Beyond thing gets done. But like I said, it all sets that up, and at the end of this, this kind of got me actually wanting to read a book with these characters. With this setup in it, like I was interested enough in all of these characters to see what else they would get into, and that is something that one of these tie-in books rarely does.
All right. So the fourth character is named Prodigy, so it's another character named Prodigy, not to be confused with the mutant Prodigy.
Okay, gotcha. So there's no telling whether that character is going to show up, or this is just it. So
right,
probably irrelevant at this point, but still, I guess worth noting.
Well, it's interesting because what they do is they repurpose a character that we have some familiarity with, that being Hobie Brown.
Right.
So it's interesting that they would repurpose him into this role. And that gives us an into these characters. So whether or not they relaunch Slingers as a group book is remains to be seen, or if they just remain as prominent guest stars in the Spider-Man corner of the Marvel Universe. We'll see.
Yeah, but like I said, interesting enough to get me to want to read some more with them. That being said, we can push on to one more book before Rapid Fire, if you got one handy.
Did you read Maestro World War M #1?
I did.
All right, so this book is written by Peter David, with art by Herman Peralta and Pasquale Ferry. Colors are by Jesus Bertov and Matt Hollingsworth, and letters are by VC's Ariana Maher. So the first thing I want to say before I get into this issue is a question to Roddykat. Roddykat, have you read Hulk Future Imperfect yet?
I knew he was going to ask this question, and I have in my notes. The first thing I have in my notes is, and I quote, "Welcome back to Roddy, still having not read Future Imperfect."
It's 2 issues.
So I did. So at one point, I think by the end of the last one of these. So this is, folks will know, this is part 3 of a trilogy, the Maestro Trilogy. I think at the end of that, I started reading it, but then other stuff happening, and we had heavy books. So we have a lot of books to go through. So I was like, I'll come back to these later.
Right. We generally have a lot to read per week. It's very rare that we get a slow enough week where we can actually get in other reading. Right. So I definitely sympathize and I understand Roddykat's plight. At the same time, though, it's only 2 issues. But these 2 issues are fairly dense. They are fairly dense. They're not the run-of-the-mill 22-page comic book. So there is, it's a lot to them. That when I say it's 2 issues, I mean that, and I say that tongue firmly planted in cheek, because I know that they do not read as quickly as a monthly issue of a comic book. So that being the case, in this issue, again, we are dealing with the prequel to the Hulk Future Imperfect, and we are teasing much of what we're going to see in Hulk Future Imperfect. This issue picks up right where we left off, essentially in the last Maestro, like War and Pax, I believe it was War and Pax,
yes,
miniseries. Maybe not immediately after, but soon after, because we're dealing with the after effects of the events in that series, specifically with the remaining survivors that are left after humanity basically killed each other off. And this issue deals with with some of the remaining survivors specifically, and this is not that big a spoiler because the character is in fact on the cover, the Abomination, as well as another character who's on the cover, that being Namor the Submariner. And I'm not going to go into in depth of what these characters are doing and how they're interacting with the Maestro in this issue, but it's safe to say that the Maestro is in fact looking to consolidate power and eliminate any and all threats to his power during these prequel miniseries, and that seems to be a big goal of his during this series as well.
Right. Apparently, the forces against the forces against the Maestro at this point are pretty much comprised of a couple of invaders, or 3 invaders, including one person that I don't know if this is actually that person or just to have that person's name that is working with Maestro, but it's kind of a double agent. That being said, and also I real quick, I
didn't even notice that. That's actually a good pickup.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good pickup. I did not even notice that. That's an excellent pickup.
Mm-hmm. So I saw this cover and I didn't pick up on who it actually was until I read the book, because I honestly took a glance at it and I was like, why is Maestro fighting Count Nefaria?
Right.
So who would probably be still around? I don't know. I don't even know. But you know, that was a whole thing. So yeah, and wait. So is Abomination? I guess spoiler. Abomination was in Future Imperfect.
Nope.
Okay. Or Namor either.
Nope.
Okay. Curious. All right. That's what I was kind of wondering about, because I was like,
it's a Hulk-centric story.
I know that. But what I'm saying, but I figured, I mean, and granted, I know it's only 2 issues, but I figured maybe they showed up and he, killed them off or something like that, or something before whatever happens there. So
right.
That's why I figured I'd ask. It was like this. It kind of feels kind of weird to see Namor showing up, but also he's long lived, so of course he would probably be around. Even after,
right, and considering that this is basically the aftermath of several nuclear holocausts, basically, right, it does make some sense that he would be a survivor being under the ocean.
Right, and they even pretty much say as much in the course of this issue. So, Rick Jones, however, not doing as well.
Nope.
He's still around, but yeah, he's not getting any better. So, which at first I thought that was Rick Jones just kind of playing the role, but it was like, oh no, he's actually not, which, Alzheimer's or whatever case is not a good thing, but believe me, I know from firsthand experience.
Right.
So, yeah. But yeah, that's that. And this is the start of this. And this is the first issue of 5. So we got this whole thing. Will Roddy actually read Future Imperfect by the time this series ends? Tune in to find out.
That's a good one.
That being said, we can go on to rapid fire. Unless you got another book you want to, kind of.
No. We can definitely move on to rapid fire. So allow me to spin it up.
I ain't got time to breathe.
All right, we do have a few books in common this week, so Roddykat's going to chime in as I go through my list. First up is I Am Batman number 6. This book is written by John Ridley with art by Ken Lashley. Colors are by Rex Locus and letters by Troy Pateri. So this is the first issue of the Jace Batman and his career starting in the Big Apple, New York City. And I find it kind of disconcerting that he would be in New York City, and it seems like it's established that there's hardly ever any heroes in New York City.
Right.
As someone who grew up with the New Teen Titans having a base in New York City, I'm like, oh, so I guess there are no heroes hanging out at all in New York City
Not anymore.
in the
Right.
DC universe.
Right.
So if they just stay out of the city, I guess.
I mean, you got Gotham, you got Metropolis. Why would you go to New York?
Yeah. So lame. So lame. Do you have anything to add?
Yeah. Like you kind of said, it was like, yeah, he kind of welcomes himself into New York, but apparently, the city, the political part of the city, aka the mayor and his crew, particularly the mayor, have seemingly learned the lessons of future state / fear states, because they were like, well, he's here now, so we got to kind of we don't want to do what Gotham did. So instead of going that route, let's try to bring him into the fold, which pretty much sets up, I guess, Jace's Commissioner Gordon in One Detective Chubb, who we knew was also going to be there at the end of that last arc. But she's not too happy about the arrangement because she don't like masks. So that's going to be an interesting relationship right there. But I feel like they are definitely their relationship's probably going to change at some point. And the reason why Jace is in New York in the first place is because well, one, they had to get him out of Gotham. Two, his sister's doing physical therapy, and that's where they set them up at. So there's some family stuff also kind of going in through. But he got his man in the chair back together, and he's kind of, like I said, making a name for himself in New York. But as things tend to happen, where the capes go, so do the enemies. Because as
Right.
Agent 70 said, they didn't really have that much going on in New York since the Titans left. And they even say it in this book, hey, you know what? Batman pretty much attracting the crazies to come. And sure enough, granted, there was one kind of already there, but this is they got to set him up with some people to fight, and
Right.
they go in this issue to do just that.
Right. It's what the Vision talks about in Civil War in the MCU.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah.
Power invites challenge. I think is how it went, or something like that.
Wasn't that Zemo said that? Well, yeah. No, I guess you're right. You're right. I guess that was the case. Yeah. So,
all right. Next up is Devil's Reign number 4 of 6. So we only have 2 more issues of this Devil's Reign main miniseries remaining. This is written by Chip Zdarsky with art by Marco Cacchetto. Colors are by Marcio Moniz, and letters are by VC's Clay. Oh no, actually it doesn't say VC's Clayton Cowles. It just says letterer Clayton Cowles. I guess Clayton Cowles might have gone freelance at this point. We're used to saying that it is VC's Clayton Cowles, but in this issue, it is just Clayton Cowles.
Well, except for he is VC's Clayton Cowles in another book this week, though. So.
Interesting. Well, I just think it's interesting if you look at the credits, it doesn't say VC's.
Right.
So, in this issue, we have we immediately follow up on the events of last issue, and we're starting to get an idea of how the Kingpin is looking to enact his master plan using what he was able to get from the Purple Man. What we see are the heroes making their move to try to push back against the Kingpin and his anti-cape, as it were, efforts. We find out that the new group of Thunderbolts is not exactly moving at the to the beat that the Kingpin has set forth for them, despite his newly minted powers of persuasion thanks to the Purple Man. So that is one reveal, but at the same time, it is this Purple Man power that allows the Kingpin to counteract something that Daredevil did that is akin to what Spider-Man did in One More Day. And Brand New Day, that is. And it does make some sense because the power that he uses in this issue to overcome what Daredevil did is related to the power that basically enacted what Daredevil did to put let's say put a particular secret back into the bottle, as it were. And if you're familiar enough with the Daredevil story, you can figure out what I'm getting at here, but I'm not looking to spoil the entire thing. So that is the gist of Devil's Reign number 4. We only have 2 more issues left of this event. Next up is a Moon Knight number 8. I believe Roddykat read this as well.
Yep.
It's written by Jed McKay with art by Alessandro Cappuccio. Colors are by Rochelle Rosenberg, and letters are by VC's Corey Pettit. So this issue is it's not really a filler issue, because essentially what it does is that it picks up from right where tie-in to Devil's Reign leaves us, with where that story actually leaves Mark Spector. That is Mark Spector. Spoiler alert for the Devil's Reign tie-ins, but we do see a little bit of information on this in here. We do see that Mark Spector has been taken into custody during the Devil's Reign storyline, and now Hunter's Moon, his fellow Fist of Khonshu, is looking to maintain the work of the Midnight Mission, and that is where this story picks up. Do you have anything to add?
I was going to say, well, my notes say something kind of whatever, but his methods are, while similar to Mark's, slightly different, at least in this particular issue, because as I say in my notes, it's like, oh, so he couldn't handle this person, so he had to call out his god to handle the work. But yeah, that was the thing. And apparently the person he was fighting was, as I found out from an article, was an obscure 80s villain whom I'm almost fairly certain was a Huntress reference. Feels like a Huntress reference by the description.
Interesting. I mean, listen, if McKay is a student of Marvel history the way Dan Slott is, and you know, we've seen this in The Reckoning, where we're not necessarily creating new villains from whole cloth, but actually digging up kind of discarded characters and making something new with them, then I give McKay a lot of credit for bringing that up, because I did not realize that this character really did exist back then. I
didn't either, because I was like, I wonder, because I was going to look until I saw this article, which is in the show notes under my description, under my notes for Moon Knight, this issue. There's an article that also came out a couple of days ago that talks about this particular character and where they came from.
Gotcha.
Which is an old, it says Moon Knight number 14 from 1981, actually, according to this, and looks to be, according to this article, rumored in the past to appear in the Moon Knight Disney Plus series. But that's
interesting. But that would give it reason. Yeah, I was about to say that would give them reason to highlight that character again in the current book.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's all I had to say.
Alrighty, next up is Secret X-Men number 1, and I believe this is a one-shot.
Yes.
It is written by Tini Howard with art by Francesco Mobili. Colors are by Jesus Abertov, and letters are by VC's Clayton Cowles. So, in this one-shot, the X-Men who are featured here are actually the X-Men who all lost the vote. They were all nominated in the vote for the most recent X-Men elections, but they are all the losers, as it were, the people who were not elected to the X-Men main roster.
The first
but in
runner-ups,
this,
if you would.
Say again?
The first runner-ups, if you would.
Right. All of them are first runner-ups. They're not losers. That's the culture we have now.
Mm-hmm.
Here's your participation. Here's your participation trophy. Right now, I'm not going to be one of those guys. So, in this kind of done in one story, we have Deathbird basically recruiting this group of X-Men to run a security check. And it's kind of fun to see this group of X-Men interacting with each other. It's great to see characters that were once dead and now alive thanks to Krakoan protocols, like Banshee, kind of running around, literally with their full-throated selves doing things.
Although
And
I'm still not sure how the hell he did what he did in the middle of this when they were out in space.
In space. I know. I saw that too. I was like, "Ooh, I don't know about that, dude." But in any event, it's done in one. It's not meant to, it's not necessarily meant to mean much. I don't think it actually sets up any stories, but I could be wrong. We'll see where it goes from here. But it's it's an interesting little one shot to give some shine to these characters who a lot of people voted for in order to see them gain membership onto the main X-Men roster.
So I'm on the other side of that. I feel like this could, like, yes, this is a one shot, but maybe this is something they're going to come back to in the main X-Men book or something, or maybe they're just kind of put this out there to see if anybody actually wants to see more of this.
Right. I think it's definitely they're definitely fishing. They're putting out feelers for possible interest.
Right. Because it's like with what they set up, there's got to be more to it than just what happens in here. Like it feels like the hooks are there to where it's like, well, they can send this somewhere, send this further than what they did. But as a one and done, it's like it feels kind of partially incomplete because of that. Because it's like, okay, it's a one and done, but it still kind of has the hooks of. I was like, well, it's not really done. It's just like it just got to a point to where they just kind of, let it roll out.
Right.
Because of something. And actually, I don't remember if now we know. So slight spoiler here. The crux of the story has to do with Lalandra and Charles Xavier's daughter, Xandra, who is now the Empress of Shi'ar.
Right.
I don't recall before now. Well, actually, maybe she did probably early on, but I don't recall her manifesting her dad's powers before now, unless that happened in the Rogue the Rogue Gambit series or something like that. Maybe this has happened and I just had never paid attention, but I don't recall. We clearly know she's whose daughter she is because of the power she ends up manifesting in this particular book, which ends up kind of coming into the fold at the end of this. But also at the same time, like this book kind of reminded me of a weird U.S. Avengers, except for with X-Men, because in the similar book we have Roberto DaCosta and Sam Guthrie leading a team of kind of misfit heroes.
Right. There's so much in between right now, because they've both been Avengers, they've both been major players on the X-Men, so it's definitely they're definitely occupying a space that's in the distinct in between right now. So it's interesting to see creators trying to give these two characters and some of the characters on this roster some more shine. We see Forge a lot in the main X book as a supporting character. We've seen Armor here and there over the years, and I know a lot of people were supporting Tempo for membership on the main X-Men roster. So, this is definitely a ragtag bunch of characters, but at the same time, especially Bobby DaCosta and Sam Guthrie, some of these characters really do occupy a weird in-between space, because they definitely deserve more shine and more exposure, but at the same time it's finding the right pitch, the right book for them to headline.
Right, because you would think, okay, well, Bobby and Sam, well, these are former New Mutants, and that book's still kind of sort of around, but they're not with them. I think they may have even shown up in that book like probably once in the whole 24 issues or once.
No. Don't you remember they had that whole space? Remember when New Mutants was alternating stories? Right, exactly. And they like for like the first, let's say for the first like 12 issues of that book, they occupied like half the story because they were in space. Remember?
True. You're right.
So, but at that point, or at least in the current New Mutants book, they're definitely dealing with the Krakoan bound mutants. There's definitely a focus on Rain and Danny and Shan and Magic and
James
I guess Warpath. Yeah, exactly. Warpath. There's definitely a focus in that book on certain characters, but as we said earlier, Sam and Bobby DaCosta, they we can't say that they've graduated, but at the same time they're in that weird in between space.
Sure.
So, like I said, it's interesting to see whether or not these characters and creators. Well, it's interesting to see whether or not there are any creators that can come up with a good enough pitch for these characters to be in the spotlight again.
Right. Anyway, like she's working on something. She has something in mind if it does go any further, but we don't know that for sure.
Right. But it was interesting that that Hickman decided to pull those two specifically into the Avengers. And made them fairly prominent members for a time.
Right.
So, all right. And last for me is 10 Deaths of Wolverine #2. The book is written by Benjamin Percy with art by Federico Vicentini. Colors are by Dijo Lima. And letters are by VC's Corey Pettit. So in this issue, we catch up with Moira McTaggart, who continues to be on the run from Mystique and Destiny. We see some extreme measures that she has to take in order to try to avoid being tracked and captured. And meanwhile, we have kind of a future imperfect, speaking of future imperfect, we have a future imperfect version of Wolverine that is running around the pages of this book. So this is definitely an in-between issue. We're catching up with Moira being on the run, as well as seeing what this future imperfect style Wolverine is up to. So this is, I believe, I'm just going to the reading order. This is the second of 5 issues. So we have 3 more issues to go for this 10-week total event of the 10 Lives and 10 Deaths of Wolverine.
Right. And so, wait, is that other book on 2 also? On issue 2?
Yeah. We just had issue 2 last week, so issue 3 will be out this coming week.
So in true Hickman fashion, they're going back and forth, like I said. Cool. That's it.
That is it for me.
All right, then we go over to my books, starting off with Magic number 11, which I'm fairly certain Agent 70 did not read.
Nay.
Written by Jed McKay, illustrated by Ed Guara. Colors by Ariana Consoni, letters by Ed Dukeshire. So this begins a new story, and as the book says, new season. And they're kind of pivoting, which is weird because the last arc ended slightly on the cliffhanger, but it seems like they haven't really lost the thread of that because of the fact that while this story is starting off with not a new character, into the Magic universe, but a new character to the book, or a newer character to the book in Chandra Nalaar, who is a fan favorite planeswalker. She's a fire character. She likes to burn things. You see her on the cover. The basics is she's trying to get back to Ravnica at one part, and they do kind of make a recall to the last arc, or to a couple of things in the last arc of this book. She finds herself trying to get back to Ravnica, but as we found out from the last arc, Ravnica's kind of can't be gone through even by planeswalker. Can't be gotten to, and planeswalkers are able to pretty much go anywhere in any plane, but apparently it's been closed off for some odd reason. So she's trying to find a way to get back to or get to it. And she runs into a couple other planeswalkers, ne'er-do-well planeswalkers, who in fight ensues. And as I say in my notes, there's no cards being used in this fight, sadly, because Magic the Gathering is all about cards, as folks may or may not know. But she meets up with an ally who apparently she doesn't know, and I guess I don't know the Magic Gathering lore enough to know that whether they would actually know each other. But she meets up with another planeswalker, and they help this village out. But not before. But at the end of it, they meet up with another planeswalker who is looking for one of the other planeswalkers from the first arc of the book, who at this point is in Ravnica, who's stuck in Ravnica, I guess. So I guess we'll find out what this person wants with that character next issue or so. Next book is Black Manta 6 of 6. Think. So yes, this is the last issue of this miniseries. It is written by Chuck Brown, art by Matthew Dow Smith, colors by Marissa Louise, and letters by non-VC's Clayton Cowles, because the stuff he does for DC, not with them. Unless he is actually going, he's going by himself. We'll see. Anyway, like I said, this is the last end of this book, and this miniseries is pretty much the setup, or one of the setups, to the Aquaman event that is coming up, I guess soon, and probably in the next month or two. And Black Manta is going to be a part of that. So this is pretty much getting Manta to the point to where he is going to end up in this book, in that particular event. Obviously, when you talk Aquaman, you're thinking Arthur Curry, but you're also thinking Jackson Hyde, who's Black Manta's son. So, his involvement is not necessarily guaranteed, but given a couple of things that happen in this issue, you can see there's going to be a run-in with them. So Manta ends up getting this. Manta was tasked to forge this trident for this Devil Ray character who was basically trying to take Black Manta's spot, but for some stupid reason, and as stupid as the only word I could use is, Devil Ray, who is this other character, chose to just go along with Manta's help without thinking he's trying to pull a fast one on her or anything. But as we come to find out from this book, Devil Ray's got a long way to go before he can outwit Black Manta. So Manta's got the trident. He says goodbye to his crewmate and the other people that he was with, because they're going off to do another mission. Maybe they'll meet up again, and also sets him up, like I said, to go into Aquaman, the event. And it even says at the end of the book, like, we'll see Black Manta in Aquaman, which I believe Chuck Brown's got something to do with, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure. So shout out to hometown Chuck Brown. Next up, Star Wars Darth Vader number 20. This is a Crimson Reign tie-in, I guess. For whatever that is worth. It is written by Greg Pak, art by Raffaele Ienco, colors by Alex Sinclair, and letters by VC's Joe Caramagna. So this issue brings about the return of Sabe, one of Padme's handmaidens, who we come to find out at the events of last issue had set a trap for, well, not even set a trap, but basically um, set Vader up with some bait to go after some Crimson Dawn folks, which has been his mission in the last couple of issues because they've been a thorn in the Emperor's side. But he's been given a fake list, and whether he knew about it or not, some other people that is around him knew that the list was fake. But he pretty much goes on the spree, killing a whole bunch of people um, before finding out the list was a fake. Again, it is not necessarily known whether this was the case he knew, but apparently everybody else did, like the Emperor and Ochi, who's been riding with him, and Ochi knows for a specific reason, but you can kind of put two and two together as to why that is. And this is also setting up Sabe in a certain way, because she's been trying to hunt down Vader to kill him, but something at the beginning of this issue suggests that maybe she's not trying to do that anymore, but maybe use him for some other means, but we don't necessarily know what that is just yet. But that is pretty much how this plays out, and I guess we'll find out more about that next issue. Last but not least is New Mutants number 24. You didn't read this, Agent 70, or did you? You said you.
I did read it. I just, I mean, I read it mostly carefully because I'm not as caught up as you are on this, so some of it may have kind of gone over my head. But I did, see, as we talked about earlier, that several storylines had been advanced, and even some kind of wrapping up, and some others being pushed forward. So,
sure.
As I said, advanced. So feel free to discuss it.
Well, okay, so not much outside of that, but said, so it was written by Vidya Ayala, art by Danilo Beirut, color artist Dan Brown, and letters by VC Strand of Lanham. I'm just going to say off right on top of the bat, I don't know, I had some slight issues with the art. Like, it wasn't bad, but it was slightly jarring, I guess.
I think it's distracting.
Yeah. So, and it kind of threw me especially at the beginning of the book. Like as you're reading through it, you get used to it, I guess. But yeah, in the beginning, it was definitely distracting, especially when you see like magic, in a couple of times in the beginning. But there's that. So yeah, so like Agent 7 said, yeah, there's some stuff that gets wrapped up. There's a whole lot of there's some reconciliations going on, for the most part, that's what this book is kind of going through. We get to see where folks are at mentally, like Rain and Cosmar, and we see Cosmar actually, I guess they're finally trying to get her changed to being somewhat human looking, which I'm surprised they waited till now to do that. We see the Proud Star brothers kind of I guess start to rebond. The former Shadow King actually is getting starting to get his redemption, which is still weird to me because I figured it was like, nah, if anybody needed to go into the hole, it's probably him. But anyway, we throughout this whole thing we get to see Magic kind of talking about the state of music magic and cheating to students, and I guess bringing Richter into the fold as a teacher because he's a druid now, as I say. And at the end of this, and we've seen a couple of times interspersed with this, apparently they have some plans for Madeline Pryor, because she's popped up a couple of times in this book, and even at the end where Ayana's like, hey, I got a proposition for you. And it kind of goes into telling her that, but we don't get to see the whole thing, just the start of it. We also see Yana looking at a certain part of Madeline Pryor's anatomy at the end of this, unless that was an art choice that looks kind of different from the way I perceived it, but it just looks like, knowing Magic, she was just looking at her boobs at the end of it, which again is Magic, she probably was. So yeah, so like I said, like Aiden 70 said, some things are kind of got wrapped up, some things are kind of what in the world? Um being brought up. And it does say at the end that there's a to be continued in this, so we'll see what happens. And that is it for me. So we can go to clicks of the week.
Clicks of the week. I was just saying, and I didn't have a chance to unmute myself, that it was probably both when it comes to what Magic was doing and or
Yes.
looking at.
Indeed.
So incoming clicks of the week.
We didn't get anything from our other hosts. Nope. We
It's all right. It was kind of a weird week reading wise. So let's see. For myself, I think I might actually have some Dark Horse candidates, and not the publisher Dark Horse, but some Dark Horse candidates this week. Because while I definitely liked Avengers number 53 because of some of the cool things that we got to see from the characters that Hickman chose to highlight, as well as the parallels to Avengers stories of the past, I think that I'm going to go with Devil's Reign number 4, although Maestro World War M number 1 was pretty strong as well.
Okay. So let's see. Devil's Reign number 4 for you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And I think for myself, Secret of X-Men was kind of fun. Like I'm slightly curious if they indeed end up doing something with that group. But given we know that there's another vote coming up soon, maybe probably not. Who's to say at this point?
Right.
I am actually weirdly going to go with Amazing Spider-Man 88 Bay.
Nice.
For my click. Because yeah, like I said, I'm interested in seeing what these characters get into. And that's a surprise out of one of these books.
And we get to see the Brown Hornet.
Yes, indeed. And while I put my book, the cover of my book up real quick, we will go into the news section. But first, an ad read.
Our first ad read of the night is for Funko, Fun at First Sight. It's your home for exclusive collectibles such as their world famous pop vinyl bobbleheads, apparel including t-shirts, hats, and socks, and brand merchandise such as custom DIY pop figures, art books, and skateboards. And now the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles can enjoy 10% off your entire purchase when shopping at Funko. To place your first order with 10% off and to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us. That's cspn.us. Then click on the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down to the Funko link and place your order. When you get to the checkout, put in the offer code SHOP10 for your 10% off discount to help support the Comic Book Chronicles. That is Funko through cspn.us. Do it today. And now we get into the news.
We start off with the the cinematic news. I was gonna say, I totally forgot that. I also genuinely enjoyed the run of Black Manta. By itself, it probably is not, may or may not be something to write home about, but it's actually a pretty good read if you get a chance to get around to it. I will say that. That being said, cinematic news, we start off with the CW officially orders Gotham Knights pilot. So according to this article, apparently the potential sale of the CW caused some unease recently, which we talked about recently. That the CW is potentially being sold, but apparently they're still greenlighting shows. So apparently there's a pilot order for Gotham Knights, which this comes according to the Hollywood Reporter. The series comes from the producers of Batwoman and sees the CW continue its tradition of adding new DC shows to its lineup every year. Also, there's a video game called Gotham Knights that is coming out either this year or next year. Coincidence? Maybe, maybe not. So that being said, let's see. It says here it's been 3 months since the CW has announced that they'll be developing this series. And the official pilot order seems to suggest that it's probably going to happen. But like I said, with the station being, or the network being kind of in flux, who's to say what's going to happen with it? But it seems like there's a number of Arrowverse alum involved in the pilot of the show, such as Greg Berlanti, as well as Batwoman team of Chad Fivish, James Stodero, and Natalie Abrams. So, like I said, we'll see if that actually comes to pass or not. Next up.
All right. So, in the wake of episode 6 of Peacemaker, now that we've just talked about episode 7 that just dropped today as of the date of this recording, we've gotten some new emojis that are available for people to use online related to Peacemaker. And there are some fun behind the scenes photos featuring Peacemaker and a classroom full of kids that are also featured on the website that Roddykat is showing you.
Yep. What is going on with these shots? Okay. Naomi just introduced, actually a couple of weeks ago, introduced a surprising DC cosmic character. So this is kind of spoilers for episode 3 of Naomi, and we just passed episode 6, just to give you reference. And then the reason why I hadn't talked about Naomi this week is because it's not coming back until the 23rd of February, which is a couple of weeks from now. So,
right, and yeah, they are not on an Olympic hiatus like other like NBC shows.
Correct. So yeah, so like I said, this is a slight spoiler for episode 3 if you haven't been watching, but a character named Adam Blake, who I saw this character, I was like, well, this must be somebody, but I don't know who it is because DC's got a bunch of characters I have no idea about, and I'm more of a Marvel head. But apparently this person's name is Captain Comet. If that name means anything to you as a DC fan, there you go. But yeah, this dude came in and had a scene and kind of left, and we've not seen him since. So there you go. Apparently he fought alongside one of the other characters who's a Thanagarian in whatever war that they keep referencing. Probably not the Rand Thanagarian war, but who's to say it's not. Next up,
a new kid graphic novel gets a film adaptation from Insecure showrunner Prentice Penny. So it is an adaptation of Jerry Kraft's best-selling graphic novel, New Kid, for Universal. So this is a graphic novel by author-illustrator Jerry Kraft. It is an award-winning 2019 graphic novel titled New Kid. And let's see. Originally published on February 5th, 2019. New Kid tells the story of Jordan Banks, a 7th grader who loves nothing more than drawing cartoons about his life. However, instead of sending him to the art school of his dreams, his parents enroll him in a prestigious private school known for its academics, where Jordan is one of the few kids of color in his entire grade. As Jordan makes his daily trip from his Washington Heights apartment to the upscale Riverdale Academy Day School, he soon finds himself torn between two worlds and not really fitting into either one. Okay.
That has a weird Miles Morales sound to it, minus the spider powers.
Right.
But yeah, there you go. Moon Knight Star may have already shut down season 2 hopes, apparently. Moon Knight star Oscar Isaac recently suggested that the upcoming Disney Plus show will not see a second season. Speaking to Jared Leto for Friday's Actors on Actors session, Isaac discussed his knowledge of Moon Knight before he took the role. Quote unquote, I've never heard of Moon Knight before, and I've collected comics when I was younger, he explained. I'd heard of Morbius, but I'd never heard of Moon Knight. I don't know how the process was for you, talking to Jared Leto, but because it's a featured film, we're in a limited series. And I guess he says being a limited series suggests no plans for future episodes beyond 6 scheduled premiere. That's not necessarily the case because I think most of these are limited series, and we know at least Loki and What If got both got second seasons.
Exactly.
Who's to say? Like he only knows what he knows, so he can only say what he knows. Plus, the Disney snipers would be on him. Next up.
Alrighty, as reshoots for the Disney Plus series Ms. Marvel continues, that is, a new set picture offers a peek at Kamala Khan's homemade Captain Marvel costume. So it's the first superhero suit that she dons following her transformation. Because of the MCU's ever-shifting release schedule, Ms. Marvel is one Marvel Disney Plus series that has seen its premiere window bumped around a fair amount. The series once was set to premiere in late 2021, but it's now going to be premiering in summer 2022.
Oh, I was thinking there was probably going to get pushed to next year, so that's interesting.
Right. And that was my understanding too, is that it was going to be in 2023.
Right. So now I'm kind of curious though. So when is She-Hulk?
I don't know. I mean, this is an interesting way to phrase it in the article that
right.
they've moved it up, I guess.
Right.
But my understanding is that it's supposed to be 2023.
Mm-hmm.
This is just it says likely to debut sometime this summer.
Sure. So yeah, we'll see if that actually holds true. Because if that's the case, we ought to be seeing it like a trailer or something somewhat soon.
Right.
So next up, though, Anthony Ramos joins the cast of Marvel's Ironheart. So I guess this is a dude from In the Heights.
Right, he was in the original cast of Hamilton.
Okay. So continuing, he
played John Lawrence.
Gotcha. So continuing with that tradition of hiring Hamilton and or Game of Thrones or some combination of both.
Alumni, yeah.
Yeah, to current stuff. So it says here that Ramos's role is currently unknown, but he will definitely appear alongside Dominique Thorne, who plays Ironheart Riri Williams, and that's pretty much about all we know. Next up.
All right. I think we talked about this last week, but again, we have another article about Madam Web movie reportedly in development over at the Sony Marvel office, starring Dakota Johnson. So the news came from Deadline, who sources say that Sony is looking to expand on its Marvel success post Spider-Man No Way Home.
Right. We talked about it last week that it was definitely going to be a thing. I don't think we had Dakota Johnson's name attached to it when we talked about it then, though.
Okay.
That's like the only new thing about this. Let's see. Book of Boba Fett star Tamara Morrison wants another season to get revenge on Mace Windu. I saw like a part of this clip of this video, and I wish I could have pulled it. I totally forgot. But Tamara Morrison and Ming-Na Wen were talking to IMDb, I believe, and it came up that he wants another season of the show so that he can finally settle a score with Mace Windu, who of course killed him / his dad in Attack of the Clones. Because I remember seeing in the clip of it, he was like, matter of fact, it says here, quoted, I think we'd better let Jon Favreau know that we should have another series, and I'll start looking for Mace Windu. And the part that I saw was this next quote was, I am big time for my dad, the actor said, adding, he's done. So I got my eye on him. He's top of the list, in fact. Talking about Mace Windu. So whether that actually comes to pass, and I think either this article or another article said that Mace Windu was dead because of the events of Revenge of the Sith. We don't know that for certain. We saw him fly out of a window thanks to Palpatine and Anakin, but we don't know that. He could have, he could have been saved by the Force. Who knows? Anyway, I thought that was a nice little thing to come across. Like I said, we don't know if that show is going to get another season or not. It's kind of doubtful at this point, though.
Next up, Obi-Wan Kenobi will kick off the summer of 2022 as the Star Wars spin-off series now has a release date. First reported by Variety, the show will arrive May 25th on Disney+, skipping the popular May the 4th holiday and instead arriving on the 45th anniversary of Star Wars A New Hope's original release. Disney CEO Bob Chapek announced the news during the company's fourth quarter earnings call Wednesday before the official Star Wars account tweeted out the news along with the first poster for the series. And with the show now right around the corner, fans should expect to see the first trailer shortly. And what I expect to hear from everyone when that first trailer drops is, "Hello there."
Indeed. So yes, yeah, sure. That's the way to do that one then. I'm weirdly looking forward to this, but I still don't know what that show is actually going to be. HBO Max not moving ahead with the Boondocks reboot, sadly. According to sources familiar with Sony Pictures Animation, the highly anticipated reboot of the Boondocks is no longer happening at HBO Max. As Deadline reported, Aaron McGruder's animated comedy will not be returning despite receiving a 2-season order from HBO in 2019. The show was originally set to return with a 15-minute special back in fall 2020, but that never materialized. Sony is reportedly in the process of figuring out other options for more Boondocks, which originally aired for 4 seasons on Cartoon Network, as most folks know. Yeah, I don't know. This whole thing was kind of weird anyway because one, John Witherspoon's passed, and that was kind of that's kind of a major character. I know they were trying to get his son to play the part, and I think he's pretty much come and said he probably wouldn't do it because for reasons. I can't remember if Aaron McGruder. I think Aaron McGruder supposed to had come back for this, whereas he did not in that last season, which is probably why that last season was kind of weak. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of sad to see this not happen, but maybe it'll come back at for some reason, some way. Next up.
All righty. Halle Berry, shout out to Halle Berry, teases a John Wick spinoff for her character. So she's talked about a potential spinoff, and she tells IGN that Sophia is not in the next John Wick movie. There could possibly be a Sophia her own movie, so she might not be in John Wick, but she might be doing her own thingy. So while the John Wick franchise so far consists of 3 films with a 4th on the way, there's also more than one spin-off in the works. So the TV show titled The Continental is one of those spin-offs that focuses on a young Winston. And Ana de Armas has reportedly been cast in Ballerina, a film about an assassin out for revenge against her family's killers. So we'll see that John Wick universe start to expand.
For good or for ill. Futurama revived at Hulu with the original cast, possibly sans John DiMaggio, at least at this point. So yeah, looks like there's Futurama is rising from the dead once again. Let's see. Hulu has finalized a deal for 20 new episodes to premiere in 2023. And it looks like everybody's back, like it's except for, at this point, John DiMaggio, who played Bender. And I believe I saw another article saying that Well, yeah, there you go. Related story here is Bender voice actor John DiMaggio rallies fans frustrated by recasting. So I guess he got recasted, or they he's not getting the money he wants, so he's stoking fire to flames or something, so he can come back. I don't have no idea. Regardless, hey, Futurama fans rejoice because I know there's a couple out there. Next.
All right, next, it looks like we're about to go into one of our newer segments on the Comic Book Chronicles. That is the Anime Corner. So, we got to have a transition for that. In our first bit of news in Anime Corner, JoJo's Bizarre Adventures official Twitter account announced that it will be holding a special event at this year's Anime Japan convention on March 26th, with the voice of Jolene I.A. Firuz set to appear along with a number of other cast members that make up the colorful characters of the Stone Ocean.
I need to get a JoJo's clip, and I know just one of the two to get. So stay tuned for that coming up at some point. Attack on Titan season 4. Apparently, the actor who plays Eren, lost his voice.
Eren Yeager
during voice recording of episode 80. So let's see. We know where this is. Y'all know Attack on Titan, so I don't know why they have to do this preamble in this article. But season 4, part 2, the final season premiered in January of this year on various streaming platforms. The most recent episodes are currently available in Japanese on search places. Let's see. What is his name?
Yuki Kaji. You have it in your notes, the quick summary.
Yeah, I know, and I should have looked over there, but I also have this the video up. So anyway, so Kaji disclosed his thoughts on the episode. Oh yeah, Yuki Kaji is right there in the tweet about the episode on Twitter just before it premieres. The actor revealed that he couldn't have imagined working on this episode and struggled while figuring out how to perform it. Kaji hypes up the episode, sharing that he lost his voice while recording it. He compares the damage done to his voice for episode 80 to other times he strained it while bringing Eren to life, concluding that this episode was the worst. And of course, he has his tweet there that unless you know Japanese or the translation is any decent on it, you will not know what he said. So there you go. Next up.
Hello, Google Translate. Next up, Attack on Titan will return to Toonami to finish off the show's final season. Toonami announced on its official Facebook profile that Attack on Titan, the final season, part 2, will be the next show to join the programming block's late-night schedule. The network will air the first episode from Part 2, Episode 76, Sentencing, on February 13th, 2022 at 12:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The show will be sandwiched between two other new additions to Toonami's anime lineup, the video game adaptation Shenmue, which will air its first episode on February 5th, and the second season of Assassination Classroom, which premiered on the network earlier this year. Okay.
Yeah. Boop. Final Demon Slayer episode will be extended finale. So that is the episode that is coming up this coming Sunday. It will be a 45-minute extended finale of the Entertainment District arc. Because the way that Joker ended this last Sunday, there is no way in the world there couldn't have been another one. They were going to expect people to hold off for any longer than that. So I know I've seen there's definitely been people asking if there's going to be more after this arc, and there's definitely room for it, because usually a season of an anime is usually 20, most are at least 24 to 26, and I think season 1 of Demon Slayer was 26 episodes, and I partially can't see them not doing that this time, which means that with this, although this could be the exception to the rule, From what I understand, well, from what I've seen, there's been 17 episodes. This next one will be 18 episodes, which would still leave room for eight or nine episodes to make 26 if they were going to go that route. And you can fit another arc in 8 or 9 episodes. The first arc of this season was 8 episodes, and that was just retelling Mugen Train.
Right.
So,
right. But at the same time, we're dealing with the after effects of that initial freeze on work because of the COVID-19 surge in Japan. So, and we're still dealing with, we're still not out of the woods yet. So, at the end of the day, we're working on, the animation studios are all working on a different schedule. So, whether or not we're going to get the full allotment of episodes or we're going to get something slightly abbreviated just so that we can, work within the constraints that exist at the moment, that remains to be seen.
Right. Or it could be just like they did with Attack on Titan and they split up the season.
Right.
So we don't know because we only know that this is going to be the end of this arc, and that's all we have so far.
Mm-hmm. Next up, Bleach creator Tite Kubo says that the upcoming 1,000-Year Blood War anime will feature new elements that expand the story of the original manga. Bleach fans who experienced the ending of the series through the manga may still have something new to see when the 1,000-Year Blood War anime premieres. According to Bleach Daily Scans, Tite Kubo, the original creator, recently confirmed in a Q&A with his fan club that the 1,000-Year Blood War anime will feature new content and elements of the story that were previously left out of his manga. Specifically, he stated that the anime will finally reveal who attacked... Oh, there's a bunch of spoilers here. I have not watched this yet, so I'm not familiar with it. So I'm going to forego talking about that stuff.
Yeah, like I said, if you're like me, you won't remember by the time you get to this point because there's a lot of Bleach.
Yeah, there's 366 episodes according to this article. So yeah, that is quite a bit of anime.
Yeah, I keep wanting to go back to Bleach because I did enjoy it, even with the filler stuff that they had. Although it was the filler stuff that I kind of bounced off of, which coincidentally was called Bounce. So go figure. Or at least, yeah, somewhere in there. I definitely know. And that's like 70 some episodes at some point. But yeah, Bleach was pretty good. I liked it. And I'll probably go back into it knowing that this is a thing. Either way, I think this is the last of both the Anime Corner and cinematic news. Magic the Gathering is getting a special anime from Wit Studio. So it says here, if you're a fan of trading cards, there's a pretty good chance you know Magic the Gathering. I think we've already established that earlier. The TCG has been operating for decades. You already know this, but keep moving along. It says that I think in line with the new expansion that they're coming up, the short story which is called Kamigawa Shining World. It's kind of a cyberpunk / I guess kind of anime inspired in a way from what I've seen of it. And it's coming out soon. So I guess in line with that, they're coming out with it says here they're pushing ahead with a set of OVAs, which are original videos, original video animation. So which fans of anime know what those are about. So that being the case, let's see. Studio Wit's doing the animated with Maxilla, so you know the animation is going to be gorgeous according to this article. It doesn't say. Oh, here we go. These animated specials are the first to tackle Magic the Gathering, but they're not the last. There was supposed to be a Netflix. I think the Russo brothers were supposed to be doing a Netflix anime with Magic the Gathering. I don't know if that is still going on, but according to this article, it also says that Netflix is pursuing its own anime focused on the TCG. Later said Magic the Gathering will star Brandon Routh as Gideon Jura, who's a planeswalker, and some might know who that is. Let's see. So yeah, and a couple of little bits and pieces, but we don't know that much more else about it that outside of the fact that it's a thing. So hey, I'll watch it. I like anime. I like Magic the Gathering. Win-win for me. And that is it for the cinematic and corner and anime corner. We move on to the books news. And with that, we start off with the Uncanny X-Men trading card celebrates 30th anniversary of Jim Lee's legendary X-Men art. So it says here, in 1992, Marvel Entertainment commissioned Jim Lee, the young superstar penciler behind X-Men number 1. Surely y'all know who that is. The best-selling we know X-Men number 1 sold a shitload in 1991. We get it. We know. And there was a set of trading cards that would go on to become one of the most celebrated in Marvel history and the gold standard for non-sporting trading card artwork and design. It says here you can celebrate the 30th anniversary of Jim Lee's legendary trading card art with Uncanny X-Men trading cards to complete series. As Agent 70 is probably going to pull out his set. Yep.
Heck yeah.
Hold on a second. As I let me give full focus to Agent 70 on this one. While he can show
Heck
it off.
yeah.
Oops.
I got to turn off my virtual background. Hold on.
Oh wait, that's the wrong. There we go. Let me turn
Here we
you
go.
off. Do that.
Heck yeah! Look at this.
There we go.
Look at that. The first set of the first 9 cards right here. So I've got a complete set of these cards. And what's cool about this is apparently a digest size, so it's going to be a little bit smaller, but it's going to have a complete set of the cards inside, images of the cards front and back, and it's going to have some of the original art scanned in as well. We've seen some of that in the IDW artist edition of Jim Lee's X-Men stuff.
Right.
But we're probably going to see some of that in this card set book as well. So the collection arrives on July 5th. And if you pre-order it now, it's going to cost you the cover price of $24.99. You can tell that I put the story into the news.
Oh, did you? Because I thought I did.
Oh, I definitely put the story in the news.
Okay. Wait, then what? Okay, never mind.
No, I definitely did that. So let me take the next one.
I'm not denying that, but I thought I had something. I thought I either had that or something in the.
Unless there's a double story afterwards.
No, I don't think so. But yeah. So wait. So is it just the 6 cards? Plus whatever bonus cards they're saying in this? Was the complete set of 6 cards? Or
no, it's 105 cards.
Oh.
But my point is the 105 card. It's it's a picture book basically of all 105 cards front and back.
Right. Okay. Oh wait. Okay. Yeah. Oh, you know what? I was thinking it was they basically redoing the cards. That's what I was thinking. Okay. That's kind of bummed because as a person who likes trading cards of that sort. And I do have some in here for some covers.
Did you pick up any when they first came out?
No, I didn't. I didn't even know about these ones.
That's too bad.
Yeah, like I said, around this time, like I said, I was too busy in school or whatever the fuck. So
right. Oh yeah, I was about to say definitely. This is high school for me.
Mm-hmm.
So. Definitely. But what I was going to say is you can still get these, they're not that expensive to get, like a set of them.
Mm-hmm.
It gets more expensive if you're trying to get the full hologram, the chase holograms that come with it too.
Sure.
But, it's actually not that difficult to get a full set of these, but, they're still fun to look at. I have my full set and I'm glad to have it.
Gotcha.
But if you just want to take a look at the art, this book might be a good avenue to go.
Sure. Moving right along.
All right, next up, Shang-Chi accepts his fate as master of the 10 rings in the Marvel universe. So, we have here an instance where the MCU is inspiring some changes in the Marvel 616. So in a press release distributed this past Tuesday, Shang-Chi will now be bearer of the 10 rings come May. Interestingly, the solicitation sent out by Marvel even compared the 10 rings with the aforementioned Infinity Stones. So I don't know. I don't think these 10 rings are going to be the same rings as the Mandarin's 10 rings.
It doesn't seem to be the case, but we also know that, as we have said when we've been talking about Shang-Chi, like they have definitely been paralleling the movie, the comic to the movie, and this is pretty much furthering that.
Right.
In a way that I'm kind of not liking, but it is what
well, it depends on how they integrate it. That's the thing. You know, it's weird because Shang-Chi in his first incarnation in the comic books was such an interesting spy character.
Right.
And now we're getting into him being an actual, you know, like kind of boosting his power level so that he can be on par with some of the other superheroes of the Marvel universe. And that can get a little bit, you know, that can make the adjustment a little tough. Let's put it that way.
Right. But we've even said that that's not necessarily a thing that they should have to do. You know? But we'll like you said, we'll have to see how it bears out. But yeah, I don't know.
But I definitely understand why we may not think it's necessary as fans of the character, but I definitely understand the thinking behind it.
I guess. Move right along. Fantastic Four's Reckoning War's deadly new villain violently murders a Watchman. This is I guess a preview of Fantastic Four 40, which is coming up soon. I think next week, isn't it? I don't know.
Not sure.
Yeah, and I know it's soon because that alpha just came out last week. But so yeah, basically, CBR got an exclusive preview of Fantastic Four number 40, and it introduces a new villain that immediately kills an obscure Watcher, which I think this is the villain we saw in the alpha, at the end of the alpha issue. And this article kind of goes into who this villain is. And if you want to go into to see about that, then you can read this article. I won't go into it because we will be talking about that when that comes out. Next.
All right, next week is Fantastic Four number 40. You are correct.
Okay.
I was just looking at the Diamond website. All righty. Next up, Iron Fist number 1 introduces Danny Rand's mysterious replacement. So in this book by Alyssa Wong, Michael YG, and J. David Ramos, what we're looking at here is a preview of Iron Fist number 1. So we'll find out more about this new Iron Fist, because what we find out here is that Danny Rand critiques the new Iron Fist, saying that he's missing the heart of the dragon, the chi of Shao Lao. So it's definitely going to be a different Iron Fist.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, we probably know who it is, but that's not to say that could be very well who it could be, given recent events. Yeah, okay, we said we was going to skip this one. And Marvel hypes Captain Carter's solo series with an explosive trailer. So the trailer teases the setup for Captain Carter number 1, where, like Steve Rogers in the mainstream continuity, a frozen Peggy Carter is thawed out in present day, describing Carter as, quote-unquote, the super soldier heroine of World War II, who now finds herself a woman out of time. The trailer shows her fighting goons, mourning beside a grave, blocking an RPG rocket, and partnering up with a government agent version of what appears to be X-Men's Betsy Braddock, which kind of makes sense since they're both British, I guess. So yeah, trailers for comic books still trip me the freak out. Even now, like we've seen a few of them here and there, but they still, like, it's still weird to see them. Like, it's a trailer for a comic book. We never had to do back in the day.
I
But
get
again,
it.
we didn't have YouTube back in the day, so back in my
Exactly.
day.
We didn't have a means of distribution for that.
Exactly.
So
there's the thing. You can check it out in the article. Next up.
move over, Bucky. Marvel unveils a brand new Winter Soldier, but this is coming in the pages of a new upcoming Spider-Man 2099 series. So that series is going to introduce new versions of classic comic book characters, including the Winter Soldier. And that's essentially all you need to know. This debut is in Spider-Man 2099, Exodus number 1.
Okay. Speaking of Spider-Man, Marvel Spider-Man Ghost Rider 2099 return in 30th anniversary series. So yeah, we know that it's Ghost Rider's 30th anniversary, and they're kind of doing some stuff and they're doing. So I guess there's going to be a Ghost Rider 2099. Was there already a Ghost Rider 2099?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
I don't know. I never kept up with 2099 stuff.
I never bought it, but I knew, I saw it on the shelf. So
Gotcha. So yeah, Marvel Comics has announced a new Spider-Man 2099 series in anticipation of that future's 30th anniversary. In the press release, Marvel announced a new series, which is written by Steve Orlando and illustrated by Paul Fry, David Watcher, Marco Castillo, Zay Carlos, Alessandro Mercola, and Kim Jacinto. It's slated for May. The first issue is called Spider-Man 2099 Exodus Alpha number 1. And et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's still going to be Miguel O'Hara, but apparently Ghost Rider 2099 is going to show up there also. Next.
Marvel announces a Skrull-filled Secret Invasion sequel. Oy. The sequel explores if the Skrulls learned from the last time they tried to infiltrate Earth's mightiest heroes and the Earth. So, announced by IGN, a 5-issue miniseries of the same name is set to release later in 2022. Written by Ryan North and drawn by Francesco Mobili, the title will explore Nick Fury and Maria Hill dealing with another Skrull invasion, with the Earth's mightiest heroes more prepared after the last time, although readers will see if they were truly ready. However, North claims that the title will not be as universe-shattering as its predecessor, but more grounded and focused. Okay.
Sure. And just in time for the Secret Invasion Disney Plus show, that'll probably be sometime in the next year.
Sure.
Let's see. Star Wars writer promises more Knights of Ren backstory. So according to Charles Soule,
Oh, do we need it? Do we need it really? That's just editorializing on the part of Agent_70. I'm sorry to interrupt. Carry on.
No, it's fine because honestly, I thought the same thing kind of. But according to Charles Soule, fans hoping to get more background information on the enigmatic Knights of Ren will have plenty to chew on in the near future. As folks may know, Soule is writing Star Wars and just the main Star Wars series. Actually, I think he's writing a couple of things and a novel and blah 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 blah. As well as the writer of the 5-issue crossover event series Star Wars Crimson Reign, which is still going on. Previously, Soule and artist Will Sliney created the character Ren, the original founder of the Knights of Ren, who was featured prominently in the 4-issue limited series Star Wars The Rise of Kylo Ren, which Marvel...
Without Stimpy!
Boo. Boo. So on Twitter, a pair of Star Wars fans were discussing how very little has been revealed about the Knights of Ren since 2015 Star Wars The Force Awakens, despite the film seemingly setting up to be a bigger deal. And that's kind of true. One user pointed out that Soule fleshed out the Knights of Ren and the Rise of Kylo Ren, though the other asserted that fans are still barely know anything, quote unquote, about the group. I guess if you don't see him in some movie, you don't see him at all. I don't know. Whatever. I guess Charles Soule's check says you should check out Crimson Reign number 4 and Star Wars 25. Soule wrote, that'll give you more to work with. On that note, Soule previously teased big plans for Star Wars 25. In particular, quote unquote, got confirmation that I'll be able to do something very cool for Star Wars 25, my 100th comic set in a galaxy far, far away. The writer tweeted last month, "We'll be getting the bands back together." So Max Rebo coming to you.
Huh.
You heard it here first. I don't know. Anyway, next up.
Next up, Mark Guggenheim is writing Star Wars, Han Solo, and Chewbacca, and he has confirmed that the upcoming Marvel comic book series will feature some major guest stars in the form of Kira from Solo, A Star Wars Story, and Black Chrysanthemum, who recently made his live-action debut in the Book of Boba Fett. Okay.
Yeah. Also, if you're interested, folks out there interested in the clickbait section, there is I guess, a more full interview that's also from CBR with Mark Guggenheim about this book. Artist calls out Marvel for altering artwork of Asian characters' eyes, and I saw this tweet like yesterday. So actually, I shouldn't be surprised that somebody picked it up as an article. Artist Greg Smallwood criticized Marvel for changing multiple panels of his artwork, largely depicting the eyes of Asian characters, for an upcoming issue of Elektra Black, White, and Blood. Quote unquote, sad to say that, without my approval, Marvel attempted to fix several panels of my art in issue 2 of Elektra Black, White, and Blood before sending it to the printers. Smallwood wrote alongside an image of his original art and the alterations made by Marvel's editorial bullpen. They're not huge changes, but I really don't like my art being tampered with. End quote. So, yeah. And if you're watching the video, you can see the tweet where he says this. And I guess that he did put in another tweet that says, "Long story short, 2 months after turning in the finished pages, I was informed by my editors that Marvel Standards practices flagged my art and requested that I redraw several panels so they would be, quote unquote, within tolerances for best representation of Asian characters." So that was a part of this tweet that I did not see originally. So there is that. So I guess there was a follow-up and a reasoning for it, because I was thinking of, like, he mentioned that, but no one came out with a reason for it. So, and then he did some more follow-up tweets, but you can read all of that in this article. Next up.
All right. Next up. Oh my goodness. DC's newest Joker is a dinosaur with a Heath Ledger inspired look. Good grief. DC Comics debuted its newest Joker in Jurassic League, a limited series that reimagines the Justice League as dinosaurs, written by Daniel Warren Johnson, who we know did the cool Beta Ray Bill miniseries recently over at Marvel, and drawn by Juan Gideon. Jurassic League is a 6-issue limited series that reimagines the heroes of the Justice League as dinosaurs. Of course, where there are heroes, there are also villains, with this version of the Joker modeled after Ledger's iconic portrayal in The Dark Knight. Let's see. Yeah, kind of creepy looking. Roddykat is probably showing it to you right now.
Mm-hmm.
This book is on sale May 10th, 2022.
Yeah. The Justice League as dinosaurs. No wonder they're killing it. They're killing the book. That is. Anyway, DC announces Dark Crisis as this next DCU event series. So, the DC's gonna have another crisis, because we haven't had one in what, a year, 2 years. Stop. And it will spin out from an upcoming.
Somehow, it's always a crisis.
Exactly. And will spin out of the.
It's never just a problem. It's never just. It's never just an issue. It's always a full-blown crisis.
Indeed.
I'm just venting a little bit, because it's not just a crisis this year. It's And
Dark Crisis.
I'm teeing it up for you. This year, it's another kind of crisis.
Yes, it's a dark crisis. Dun,
Bum,
dun,
bum, bum.
dun. So yes, that is the next big event, and it will spin out of the upcoming Death of the Justice League, which we've already talked about, and connect major stories since Infinite Frontier Zero, which I still have not read. So announced by DC, Dark Crisis is a 7-issue event that starts in June. The main book, which releases monthly, will be written by Joshua Williamson and illustrated by Daniel St. Pierre. Alexandro Sanchez will color the title with Tom I can say this, Napolitano. I apologize for butchering that name, folks. Doing the lettering. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and take this next one because it's related. Matter of fact, I think they even said it in this issue, in this article. So there's going to be a free comic book day issue, which is going to be the prologue to this Dark Crisis. So look out on Free Comic Book Day 2022. For this book. I don't know if it says when the book is going to. Yeah, leads directly into the one-shot Justice League Road to Dark Crisis #1, which goes on sale May 31st and showcases a stunning array of creators. And then, of course, the 7-issue Dark Crisis limited series is going to come shortly after that in June. And, okay, May 7th, 2022 looks like for this Free Comic Book Day special issue. So look forward to that if you're ready for another crisis. Next up.
Okay, what are we up to now?
Resurrection.
DC's resurrection of a major Batman villain opens a giant plot hole question.
Not really. Not really.
If you haven't been keeping up with the expanded Batman universe within DC's line, there have been some big developments for key characters in Batman's life, such as Jim Gordon and the Joker, and they've been locked in an international game of manhunt in DC's Joker series. Now, with Joker number 12 as out this week, we finally get to the heart of the case. So, spoilers for this week's Joker number 12. We find out who's behind the A-Day massacre at Arkham Asylum and the true mastermind who sent him chasing Joker. As it turns out, the person backing the mysterious woman, Cressida Clark, and her Court of Owls cohorts is none other than... Wait. You can't say it that way. You have to say it like this.
Yes.
Now, just by me saying it that way, now you know who it was.
Yes. You think darkness is your ally. I was born in the darkness. Yes.
There you go.
Yes, indeed. So yes, it was Bane, and apparently this is a conflict with Task Force Z, that book, which I don't know if that actually is the case, but maybe also explained because of that book. I don't know because I have no idea what's going on in that Joker book or Task Force Z, outside of that. The latter book deals with zombies. I don't even know if that's like in main canon, main universe series or not. So, anywho's, nope, that's not what I was looking for. Think. Aquaman and Supergirl's final issues lead next week's new DC releases. So 2 limited series come to a close next week from DC Comics. Both Aquaman the Becoming and Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow #8 among comic book releases on Tuesday, marking the conclusion for both the series. One of these books, as I kind of alluded to earlier, goes into the Aquaman event, and that would be Aquaman the Becoming, which stars Jackson Hyde. While Supergirl's future remains yet to be seen. Woman of Tomorrow writer Tom King will be releasing a new limited series in March, though, Batman Killing Time, which focuses on Batman, Catwoman, the Riddler, and Penguin. And yeah, apparently because of this article, there's going to be other stuff going on next week. Other books going on next week also. So, and let's see, to shift over to the other Tom of DC Comics, writer Tom Tyler begins his first crossover for Nightwing, which we may have talked about before with him and John Kent, and Nightwing 89, and conclude in Superman Son of Kal-El number 9. Which didn't 8 come out this week?
I'm not sure.
I think so. And let's see, Flash 779, Wonder Woman 774, Woman Nubia, and the Amazon number 5. Also, which I think that might be the last of that book. Also going into that Wonder Woman event. But that's also coming out next week. So yeah, there's gonna be some stuff. All said and done. Next up.
Alrighty, next up, DC Comics is making Static Shock Rebirth of the Cool available to read for free $99 on DC Universe Infinite. All fans should have to do is register and they can read the first issue without paying a penny. Static has only become more popular over time. Just last year at DC Fandom, the company announced a big initiative to get Milestone Media back rolling, and he plans to bring back those iconic characters. Had to have Static front and center. Rebirth of the Cool is written by Dwayne McDuffie with ink and pencils by John Paul Leon. Rest in peace to both of those legends. Milestone Media Brain Trust member Reginald Hudlin talked to the fans about how they were approaching all these characters. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, it's out there if you're interested and want to read it. All you gotta do is sign up if you haven't already for DC Infinite. Not a plug, just saying. DC's I Am Batman series claims New York with official banners, and I wish when we had talked about I Am Batman, probably should have played like 5 seconds of Empire State of Mind, but maybe a little overkill. So yeah, apparently there were some real live posters in New York.
I didn't see any, but I'll take the articles. I'll take the writer's word for it.
Yeah, it says DC's
If I will get you 10, I'll see it like Sunday. I'll just be like walking around, be like, "Oh, look at that! There it is."
Right. So it says here, there's a series that's popping up around New York City to celebrate Jace Fox becoming New York's Batman. These quote-unquote wild postings advertise the upcoming release of I Am Batman number 6, which just came out this week, as we already talked about earlier. The banners feature artwork from Taryn Clark that showed Jace in costume, but with his face revealed. If you're watching the video, it's probably the same one that you're seeing in the video version with a QR code to get I Am Batman number 6. So let's see. DC is running the campaign through Wednesday, February 16th. As I've said, I Am Batman number 6 is already on sale because we talked about it earlier. So yeah, if you do happen to see, if you are a New Yorker outside of Agent 70 and you see these, I would say I expect to see pictures, but you go about you. Agent 70, if you happen to see this somewhere, you let me know.
Will do.
Next up.
All right, you can now have Optimus Prime read you a bedtime story. You'll need to have access to the immensely popular meditation, relaxation, sleep assistant app Calm to hear Optimus narrate a sleep story, which the company describes as being soothing tales that mix music, sound effects, and incredible voice talent to help you drift into dreamland. The story is titled History of the Transformers, which doesn't seem like a story that would be easy to drift off to, given that the vast majority of it has to do with the endless wars between the Autobots and the Decepticons. That said, Optimus is played by Peter Cullen. That's cool. Whose deep, low, soothing voice seems absolutely tailor-made to lull just about anyone to sleep, no matter what he's reading. You can get a brief 30-second preview of the sleep story over at Calm and hear for yourself.
I mean, it's kind of true. Like Peter Cullen as Optimus, his voice is it is kind of like, you know what, if he's just kind of saying things, reading a phone book or something, it's like, yeah, I can see you being able to fall asleep to that.
Absolutely.
So I don't have this app, so I probably won't be able to take part of it, but I guess I'll check out the 37-second clip.
I just hit play on it just to hear what it sounds like.
Hello, my friend. I've been hoping to talk with you.
Oh, all right. That's all we needed to hear. We don't want to get in trouble, but that's interesting.
Yeah, and yeah, so there you go. It's not go to sleep by by oh shoot, why am I forgetting his name? Samuel Jackson, but hey, it's something. Anyway, Mattel expands He-Man's origins line to celebrate Black, Latino, and Asian Masters of the Universe. In celebration of the 40th anniversary of He-Man Masters of the Universe, Mattel will release a new line of figures featuring Sunman and the Rulers of the Sun. In spring 2022, Sunman and the Rulers of the Sun line will join several other Masters of the Universe toy lines, including Masters of the Universe Origins, which is inspired by the original He-Man toys of the 80s, as well as the new Masters of the Universe Masterverse line. Apparently these were created in 1985. Sunman is one of the quote-unquote pioneering black action figure. Wait, Ilya Eason is the person who created Sunman. It's one of the pioneering black action figures and is joined by Digitino, a Latino computer wizard, and Space Sumo, an Asian telekinetic ninja. If you're watching the video version, you can see a picture of all the folks in the line. Yeah. And I'll just go ahead and scroll through these pictures. Why does Sunman look like Kenan Thompson in a you know what? I'm stop. So yeah, there you go. There's Sunman. I've never heard of these. I'll be honest. I've never heard of these. Have you?
Nope.
Yeah. I will side note to say that, by the way, Kitty Black Perkins, who was the first the first black woman to design a Barbie, the black woman Barbie designer, I was pointed out, not saying that she was the one who invented Barbie, but her birthday is in 3 days, and apparently I did not know this, but she's a South Carolina native. So shout out to her, and her birthday is in 3 days as of this recording, or I guess 2 days of this recording. So shout out to her. If you're interested in Barbies. Last but not least, though.
All righty, last but not least, fan favorite Valiant Heroes Archer and Armstrong will return this spring in Archer and Armstrong Forever. The publisher announced on Monday. Let's see here. Archer and Armstrong Forever is the latest series to spin out of the publisher's The Year of Valiant event, a year-long campaign focused on revitalizing their line. All right. I gotta open the article, I guess, to get the publication date.
While you're doing that, I was going to say real quick that, hey, Toys Are Made is Netflix is a really good series. It doesn't necessarily go in to Kitty Black Perkins or that whole Sunman business with He-Man, but hey, it's a good watch.
It's an excellent watch. You should definitely watch the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles episode.
Yes, that would also.
Archer and Armstrong Forever #1 will be on sale on May 4th at comic shops and online. The first issue will have a limited 1 in 250 burnt wood variant cover because of course it will. Okay.
I'm sure that makes sense to Archer and Armstrong fans, I guess.
Yep.
And that, folks, is the end of the news section. How about hit us up with one more ad read?
You know what we read when it's late and I'm tired. Help keep our podcast free by shopping at Amazon. Visit cspn.us, then click the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down and click on the Amazon link to shop. Purchase items from Amazon as you normally would, whether it's books, music, electronics, jewelry, apparel, or Marvel Legends. For every purchase made on Amazon through our link, Amazon sends the CSPN a payment that helps us keep the Comic Book Chronicles podcast free for our listeners at no extra cost to you. Amazon.com through CSPN.us. Do it today.
And as I find myself putting in something else in the clickbait section of the show, we would like to thank each and every one of you fine folks for coming through, whether it's watching the show live recorded or after the fact in audio or video form. We appreciate it. You know, let us know, you know, how we're doing. I mean, granted, we've been doing this for like 8-9 years, you know, we're still doing it regardless one way or another. So, but you know, we like the feedback, positively, hopefully. That'd be nice. Everyone needs positive feedback every now and then. You know what I mean? Whether they say so or not. That being said, I have been Roddykat. I'm sorry, you had something to say?
No, I was just gonna quote Mary J. Blige, who's going to be performing at the Super Bowl halftime show this weekend. When we, you know, with one of her classic lines, "We don't need no hateration
or holleration." Exactly. In
That's
the
right.
Dancery.
In the dance, exactly. In the dancery, as in, you know, this dance soiree.
Exactly. Yes, and hopefully we will definitely get to see Mary's quote unquote dance. Because we know Mary cannot dance, but still, we love it anyway.
But she has her own dance, which is unique to her.
Yeah, exactly. And as bad as it is, we love to see it. Anyway, like I said, this has been Comic Book Chronicles. I have been Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at News Nerds Need on Twitter. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram. Agent underscore 70 you can find on Twitter and Instagram. PCN underscore dirt on Twitter, PopCultureNet on Twitter, PopCultureNetwork.com, and all those umbrella sites therein. Tim, DOGG98, the Osiris of this ish. You can find him on Twitter at Tim DOGG98. You can also find him at CB Cron, which is the Comic Book Chronicles Twitter account. You can also find him at The Click Nation on Twitter. You can also find him at theclicknation.com. You can also find him more likely at writing his face off over at comicbook.com. Go over there and check out our man's work. He's doing some good stuff over there. I don't know if he had any articles this week, but or at least that I pulled. But hey, check him out anyway. Like I said. You can find this here podcast on the Coast of the Podcast Network. That's CSPN.us.
Do it today.
You can also find us on your podcast browser place of choice, whether it be Google Play, Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Coast of the Podcast Network's SoundCloud page.
Remember to click like and subscribe and leave us 5-star reviews.
Yeah. You can also find us recording every Thursday night, unless there's movie protocol, at the YouTube channel of The Click Nation. That's youtube.com/TheClickNation, and simultaneously at twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles.
Again, remember to like, subscribe, and hit the follow button and the notification button so you know when we're on.
Yeah, definitely, especially the Twitch channel, because we want to do some more stuff up there, but we can't seem to get to the point of where we can because they have a gate for us to do that. So it'd be nice if we can get to that, get a few more followers so we can do that stuff. Yeah. That being said, folks, we're out of here. We will be back next week. Like I said, same bad time, same bad channel. The Super Bowl's coming up. Yay, sports ball. No more Book of Boba Fett. We got Peacemaker to talk about next week. And that's going to be pretty much it to start off. So, yeah. This has been the Comic Book Chronicles. Peace.
Peace. One.
And knowing is half the battle.
Good evening, Rick. Would you believe it's Dr.